Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner. I'm here with John Denton.
Yeah, boy.
I'm also here with Matt Murray.
Yeah, boy.
And introducing to the Dash Radio listeners, it's James Farley. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Okay, great. Just a little bit of enthusiasm.
Yeah, James, do you want to do an introduction to the millions of Dash Radio listeners?
Not really.
Okay, no, so we'll leave it at that. Matt, should we go to feedback?
We should. I've got a game for this week. Do you want to do the game or feedback first?
When can I give my feedback? Because I wasn't here last week.
Should we start with James's feedback and then do? I think the game should be after the feedback. Let's get the feedback done first.
Let's tease the game because it's clearly the highlight of this section.
Okay, Matt, you're a little bit eager, too eager. I know you've got a lot to prove.
I've
this
had
time.
2 beers.
James, go on. Well, let's start with your feedback.
Okay, well, last week, obviously, I wasn't here, but generally good show. I quite enjoyed.
Thanks, man.
I quite enjoyed most of it. A couple of points though that I'm not very happy about. First of all, is John slagging me off about the news. I mean,
what was that?
Where did that come from? Like having a go at me for not producing the news, even though I wasn't here.
I apologise later in the show.
You apologised,
and then later on you slagged me off again about it. You did it twice
again.
And it's like...
Yeah, it's probably Dave's fault.
I mean, the thing is... That's not fair. But this did annoy me because, I mean, okay, I did complain when I had to do the emails and tweets when you weren't around, but that's because everyone slags me off whenever I do it.
But the thing is, I'd forgotten about you doing the emails and tweets when I said that about the news.
He just didn't give a shit.
So that's what happened.
You wouldn't forget if you cared. Like, you'd remember that and go, oh yeah, no, he did help me out, what a mate. And then instead you just went, oh, fucking, why are you doing that for James? Fuck that. What was that all about, John? Come on. Right, next bit of feedback.
So that wasn't very good. The other stuff, the other stuff was, to be honest, I was expecting like an evisceration of Yakuza, but it didn't come, David. I was a bit kind of disappointed because I was, as I got to that, I was starting to get a bit nervous because I was thinking, where are you going to go with it? But most of the points you made were pretty reasonable. Yeah,
and then I don't get it. I don't get it, like you. But I mean, okay, you like things about it. I get that, right?
Yeah.
But with something that I don't know, man, there was so much that I found wrong with it that I couldn't grasp onto. How was this game of the year last year?
Well, because the thing is, right, is the points you made were reasonable for someone like you that always needs like instant gratification when you're playing games. Like, you know,
I do like it when I'm playing a game and I'm enjoying it. I do like that when the game gives something back. Yeah, I do like that. Yeah,
I know that for you, like coming up against walls of text must have been really off-putting because I know you don't like reading, and so I can understand why you didn't like it that much. But I mean, also. The thing about Yakuza is a lot of it is about, sort of exploring the environment and that kind of thing. And I know
you can't explore it, though.
You can. This is complete nonsense. You see, this is the other thing that really annoyed me, right? Is you started talking about saying, oh, the map's so tiny, there's nothing to do. There is tons of stuff to do in the game. There's arcades, karaoke, dancing, bowling, mahjong, which obviously you probably know about now. Like blackjack.
I've heard of it now,
There's like absolutely tons of stuff to do in it.
Blackjack? What? It's got blackjack in it? Fucking hell. Oh, I didn't play blackjack. In it. What?
Didn't you complaining about that when it was in stuff like Grand Theft Auto? It's like, you're not like slagging
I don't think
it off
I mentioned it.
But it's just, I know what it is you're just annoyed because I know that you're just basically not interested in anything that's outside of like the Anglosphere, are you? Like at all. It's just anything that's from like, Asia or whatever, you just don't care. You're not interested at all. So
that's not true.
It is?
That's total bollocks.
He loves Mario.
Okay.
Oh, that was a bit of a sarky laugh. Zelda, Dark Souls.
Yeah.
There are loads of Japanese games I
know they're Japanese games, but they're not games about like Japanese culture as such, which I know you're not really that interested.
I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm not. What are you suggesting here? I mean, you've got to think very carefully about your next sentence. What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that you probably aren't in quite the right place to be able to enjoy this sort of game.
Right, okay, fine. But
Japan.
I mean... But also, my criticisms were fair.
Yeah.
Like, it does labour over characters that are pointless and boring.
No, it doesn't, because...
No, it does.
From your perspective,
it does
it's that, but then from another perspective, it's just a different way of telling stories, which you don't like, is basically what it is.
Yeah, I don't like it when meaningless characters are given more, like, insane amount of airtime. I don't like that. Like, it's
you
insane
don't like
amount of dialogue.
you don't like building a world and, like, they're actually...
What was it building, James? What was it building?
Well, you wouldn't know.
Why was I
play
chatting
it for long
to
enough,
the dad
did you?
of that little boy who went into this whole backstory about it was dull. Like, it just went on for too long. Those bits went on for too long. I don't need two people teaching me moves, each of them being as boring as the other one. Like, I didn't need that. The second guy, I don't care about that guy's weapon shop. I don't care about it. It went nowhere.
I know who thinks all that stuff's boring. You're the only person to do, and it's only just because you have no attention span at all. Like, for this sort of stuff,
I'll admit that. Yeah, my attention span is shit. I totally hold my hands up to that. But don't sit there and just bang on and on about nonsense. That's my... Listen, developers, you want to get a game past this, man? Yeah? Be quick, be to the point, and make it fun.
Yeah,
and probably no mahjong.
Anyone at Rez who's meeting us to show us their indie game, think about it.
If you think you're turning up to a live podcast at Rez, you're wrong. It's just going to be me shouting at developers saying, just get to the fucking point. Okay, cool. Next, you got anything else on that little list?
That was fine. I had some feedback from Matt.
That was fine.
James, I mean, it's been long enough now. We've got to get over this. But
over what? What are you talking about?
Just like you're still trying to dig me out after Christmas, but go on.
You don't know what he's going to say yet. Go on, James.
Well,
have you moment, mate?
The first thing I wanted to talk about is, Matt, how do you... I was quite interested in the way that you pronounced Ravenholm when you were talking about it last week, because you were talking about Half-Life and you said Ravenholm, and I thought that's quite an interesting way, thinking lots of ravens flying around all over the place.
Ooh, got you there. That's cutting.
Yeah, go on. That was
got you there.
But also, God, I don't know how I'm going to carry on.
Well, speaking of carrying on, the other thing I was wondering about is, how's Monster Hunter going, Matt? Because
that is a fucking good point. No, I'm probably going to get into this. Yeah, no, I'm loving this.
I haven't got time for. I haven't gone back to. I've had a shitty week. I have not been around much, so haven't been playing it. Haven't played it since I last played it.
It's unbelievable.
Is it unbelievable?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's perfectly believable.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying there. No, that's exactly what Matt Murray would do. Okay, cool.
And obviously, I'd like to see a picture of Matt with his skateboard helmet on. Can that happen?
You don't need to.
He was all over
Twitch. Yeah. He turned up with it on when he went to Anna Londo.
Really? Yeah. I didn't say. Okay.
Not last night's stream, but stream 4 is absolutely. It was an absolute madness for like 2.5 hours.
James, what if this was the main chat in his Twitch chat or whatever? And what if you had to guess, what colour do you think his helmet was?
Oh, it's not red. It's not red, is it?
No, a lot of people are saying red. John, did you see his helmet?
What a question. It's grey, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I thought it was silver, but that was close enough, I thought. When he turned up with this little grey helmet, it was hilarious. Bless him. And then he spent half an hour saying, no, it wasn't my wife that forced me to wear this, I wanted to wear it. Just
I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, I don't believe that. That's not what those YouTubers do.
That was all me.
I could just imagine you, Matt, going out your house and just like hearing, have you got your helmet, Matt? Yes. Well, just,
hopefully that's the end of your list, is it?
That is it, yeah.
Good. All right, cool. Let's get to what the listeners have to say.
It's time for a little game.
Oh, right, okay, so we're not doing the feedback from the listeners?
We did the feedback from the listeners.
John, he is way too eager, and this is weird.
You did put it out, right out there exactly how we were going to do it, and it's just completely ignored you.
I know. Go on, Matt.
Last time you said I was a really bad host. This time I'm bringing it up.
We can't do feedback, game, and then back to feedback. I mean...
You don't see Chris Tarrant just cutting into Coronation Street and going, can we just start now on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yes, you do, because often they say, like, and after Corrie, we're here for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
After Corrie.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this after Corrie, shall we?
This must be great for those Dash listeners. Listening to this.
Yeah, that's it.
Dash Radio, get it right.
Right, go.
Well, obviously, speaking of Dash Radio, we had loads of great feedback about it. First of which comes from Mickey Feckin Duffy. 15 minutes into Let's Computer Game Pod, and it's fecking painful listening. The Yanks will be turning off in droves. So thanks for the feedback, Mickey. I like to think we're doing the best we can.
I just took a big swig of drink then, and you read the name out. I'm sorry that. I'm sorry, man. That was funny. Go on.
So yeah, thanks for the feedback, Mickey. We will keep up the good work. Speaking of this Dash Radio thing, Bob Bonker tweeted in to say, "Is this a Matt Murray thing? Because I have no idea what this means. It feels very youth." That wasn't me actually. It's just an opportunity to happen. Nothing to do with me whatsoever. Mark from Wigan emailed in. I've just gone around to listening. We also had loads of good feedback and say congratulations about Dash Radio. Thank you for that. Mark from Wigan emailed in. I've just gone around to listening to Razed. A great episode as always. But I found James Farley's Xenoblade Chronicles 2 comment a bit weird. He said, "Oh, I don't like." Sorry, I'll do the voice. I don't like Xenoblade. Because I don't like JRPGs where a bunch of teenagers save the world, said in James's daft voice. Isn't this the same James who said, Persona 5 is probably the best JRPG I've ever played, and selected it as his 2017 Game of the Year shortlist? Something doesn't add up. James.
Go on.
So James. You read a lot of praise for the stuff and then just something that slags me off. I've only just been back.
Right, no, don't get bitter about it. Address the point. Something you didn't like.
Okay, well, the point is if Mark from Wigan thinks that Persona 5 is anything like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, then he's crazy.
No, that's not what he was saying, though, is he? He was saying that your criticism could be applied to a game that you loved.
Yeah.
So what?
Not really.
That's a fair comment.
Not really, because the plot is still quite considerably different, as are the setting, the theming, everything is totally different, to that.
I'm sure it is, but what he's saying is that your main complaint was, it's teenage people saving the world or whatever.
My main complaint was that the battle system was confusing and all the tutorials were awful and it didn't look that good. I had a whole bunch of things if you go back and listen to it.
So you don't like JRPGs?
No, I didn't say that. That's not true at all.
No, you would never say that, to be fair to him.
Okay. Well, anyway, Mark from Wigan has shown you right up there, James.
Well, he hasn't, but go on.
MS Rangers 999, in fact. He said, Les, just some info that there is a Crossing Souls demo out for the PS4. John, you were talking about that for a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and then I played a bit more and went off it massively. So.
Oh, really?
Nobody downloaded the demo. Was it not good?
I'd still need to play more to give a full and frank opinion, but yeah, it felt like it dropped off a cliff a little bit, and then I read a bunch of reviews, and they all kind of went along the same tack as I was thinking, so I was like, yeah, I've got too much other stuff to do.
Yep, fair.
Think about it.
Okay.
Sam Quirk tweeted in, agree with John Denton on Celeste, though I think explicit statements on them... so this is... we talked about Celeste a few weeks ago, about how it approaches mental health subjects, and in a way, and anxiety in a way that I think is really good, and John agreed. Sam says, I agree with John Denton, although I think explicit statements on the mental health narrative are important in delivering a message to all players. Sam actually wrote his own piece about the whole thing on trueachievements.com, so just search for Celeste on there and you'll find it in the news section. Sam said it's really powerful stuff for him.
Yeah, I mean, it is powerful stuff. I still stand by what I said, but I understand Sam's point, and I think I kind of made that in what I was talking about as well, that perhaps it does need to be explicit enough for people, enough people to truly get what was going on. Interesting that you said you liked it, Max. I'm pretty sure you haven't got to that bit yet.
Well, I don't know, but the subject...
Oh, Matt, not again, mate.
No, that subject is throughout the whole game, not the end of the game.
Yeah, but the bit where it's explicit is towards
I haven't
the end
got
of
the
the game.
Explicit bit, but it's very clear the game's about that.
Okay, mate. I mean, you did just sound like you were just trying to sound cool, but I'll let you off. Did you know that my 6-year-old son? Did you know my 6-year-old son is now further than you in both Super Mario Odyssey and Celeste? Good.
I don't know. It's that. I mean, I've not played the game, so I can't judge it. But
it's got a great ending, Dave.
As I said, the balance, getting that balance right, must be so difficult. Trying to make that point without explicit being too in your face, but at the same time worrying about it's a difficult
it's
one.
It's a nothing criticism. It's a tiny criticism.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom Pollard. Now, Tom did. He sent this email. Also, another email saying, "Look, I know it's hard to gauge tact and sarcasm in an email. I obviously love the show, love everyone on the show, and I don't mean it to sound mean. Having said that, here's the email. I've been listening to you guys and all your podcasts since the original Joy Pod days.
You don't need to put on a funny voice. Just read it out.
I've loved every minute. I don't want to sound negative, as I still listen every week and I love the podcast, but my feedback is centered on Matt and his role on the podcast in the last few weeks. It seems that he's now playing a bit of a character. He seems to talk over people, interrupts people constantly. He makes awkward jokes and sounds that stop the flow of the show. And it seems he always wants to sound like Ricky Gervais for some reason. All this can sound a little bit jarring at times. I mean, I'll continue in a minute, but basically, I've been doing I've been trying to do all those things since I first started podcasting like 11 years ago. So this isn't anything new. I mean, me making awkward jokes and sounds, that's been there from day one. Stopping the flow of the show, day one. Ricky Gervais, I think that's more of a day thing. The
jokes I don't mind too much. It's the sounds is the thing I just don't.
Well, what are the sounds? I don't really follow that. What sounds does he make?
I don't know. It's just from time to time there'll be like sort of like he does that stuff and all that kind of thing. And
no, but that's good. I like that stuff.
That's still funny.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Anything else?
Oh, no, I'm not a fan of that. As I said, the jokes, usually they fall flat, because that's usually what happens. But, sometimes it breaks up the rhythm a bit, which can be quite nice.
I don't think they always fall flat. I mean, maybe I should be more selective, but I just, throw as many out there as possible, see what sticks.
Okay, fine.
Anyway, Tom's email continues. It seems a little like he's under instruction to make everything a joke or sarcastic, but to the point where we are losing his genuine voice and opinions. Matt has always been fantastic on the show. Thank you, Tom. As well as the others. But its recent change has felt a bit strange. I genuinely love the show, and Matt too, and I know this sounds harsh over email, but it's genuinely not. I just wanted to inquire about why the change in Matt's sudden personality, and whether it is on purpose for character on the show. Love you guys, Tom P.
Well, I mean, I've noticed a difference in Matt, and it definitely come after the Christmas episode. And I think the fact is this whole villain thing, isn't it? And you think you've got way into this whole, now I'm the hated one, but I'm going to embrace it sort of attitude. And it just, I mean, I guess in tone it down would help.
But
don't just be so fucking blatant about it.
Just stop being such a dickhead. It's like
that's a good shout.
James, is it any wonder I've suddenly flipped after how you mugged me off over on the Game of the Year show?
Yeah, but you messed up. You
mugged yourself off, my friend.
Yeah,
mistakes were made. Sure.
You can't tell James to stop bringing it up a minute ago and then just bring it up yourself. That's ridiculous.
It's true. It is true.
Well, I can bring up about this because this is very much about that.
Oh, right, okay.
Ooh, okay,
so you could just
rules.
decide when to bring it up or not, yeah?
I can bring it up if there's a relevant email about it, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. All I'm saying is that clearly the listeners have picked up on it, so, just think about what you're doing.
Well,
you don't want to become a character. Do you?
Yeah, I can do what I want, surely.
All right, fine.
My show.
Fine. Is that it for feedback?
That's it for feedback. If you want to email us, it's thecomputergameshow@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at ComputerGamePod on Twitter.
Now, last week we promised you a game, and Matt, now is the time that you can we can go forward with this game that you've got for us. So, should we do that before what you've been playing? Let's go.
This game has been sent in by Ricky Cartwright, and it's called Metacritic Higher or Lower. I will talk about a game and give you its Metacritic score, and then I give you another game, and you have to decide whether the other game is higher or lower than the first one.
Right. Okay. Are we all ready?
How's
this going to work?
This is going to be a group exercise.
How's it going to work?
Well, I guess you guys have to confer amongst yourselves.
Right. So we've got okay, gotcha. So we're all on the same team.
Yeah. You're all on the same team here. Yeah. Okay.
It seems less entertaining, but fine, let's go.
Way worse, but yeah.
I know, it is proper worse, isn't it?
I mean, well, you could all guess separately, but I don't think that would really work either.
Why is that?
Because
we're all going to guess the same thing, and then nobody wins.
Exactly.
Anyway.
I mean, you've already lost if this is a pilot for a game show, you've already lost it.
This isn't a pilot for a game show. I've recorded that on the weekend. Right, first question. The recent hit release, Monster Hunter World, has a Metacritic score of 90. Is Shadow of the Colossus higher or lower?
Right, I'm going lower with that.
Lower.
I don't know about you guys.
Lower.
It's got to be lower than 90, surely. Is this the original PS2 release?
It just says, is Shadow of the Colossus higher or
Unbelievable.
lower?
See, I don't know. I'd probably go for higher because it was getting 10s everywhere. Like, everyone was going for the remake anyway, the most recent one.
This is why we should do individual ones.
Yeah, okay, right, okay. Let's do individually, and then we'll.
Fucking hell! Change the rules, John.
Yeah.
Let's just do individually with total obstacles at the end.
Oh my god, no! I thought it was like a one-off the other time.
I know. What did he say next time? I'm going to be the best host in the world. Last week he said that.
I think I've already.
I'm gonna go lower.
Dave.
Hang on, John. Can you just clarify though? Is this the remake or the original?
I can't clarify. The email doesn't clarify that. It just says is Shadow Colossus higher or lower.
Yeah, but which one? Like,
Ricky Cartwright.
It's probably the new one, isn't it?
I'm the host, not the writer.
Go on.
What? Who's guessing what?
Well, James is guessing.
I guess higher.
And you guys saying lower, yeah?
Yeah.
It's higher with a Metacritic score of 92.
Right, 1 point to James. Okay.
Okay, Yakuza 0. Is it higher or lower than Shadow of the Colossus?
Lower. Definitely.
Lower.
Well, so hold on. What was
Shadow of the Colossus had a Metacritic
92.
of 92.
Right. Okay. So Yakuza 0 is lower.
You're saying lower?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's lower with 85.
Right, 85,
Celeste on the
okay.
Switch, is that higher or lower than 85?
Higher.
Lower.
Higher.
It's higher with 92.
Oh, well done, John James.
FIFA 18 for PS4. He's started putting in platforms. Is it higher or lower than
Lower.
Celeste?
Lower. Definitely
What was
lower.
Celeste again?
I mean, you
Celeste
should
was
be remembering
92.
this. It's 92, yeah.
So lower, yeah.
It's lower with 84.
Okay.
FIFA 18 for Switch, is that higher or lower than FIFA 18 for PS4?
Ooh,
Lower.
Lower.
tough, but I go lower as well. Yeah.
It's lower with 68. Farpoint, is it higher or lower than FIFA 18 for Switch?
Lower.
It's higher with 71. It's higher.
Oh,
Farpoint
I mean, you
is
didn't
higher.
even
didn't even get a
answer.
chance to do it. Ridiculous.
I thought you'd already answered.
Go on.
Future Unfolding, is that higher or lower than Farpoint?
What was Farpoint?
It was 71.
What was that you said under your breath there, Matt?
God, I'm gonna go.
Who's next?
I'm gonna go.
I'm going to have to
I'm
rush you.
going higher. No, why are you rushing us? The whole game's going to be over in about 8 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm going to go lower.
Okay, who went higher?
Me and John.
Okay, well, it's lower with 67.
All right. Well done, James. Go
Night
on.
in the Woods, is it higher or lower than Future Unfolding?
Higher.
Higher.
It's higher with 87. And the final
Okay.
one, Arms, is it higher or lower than Night in the Woods?
Lower.
Higher.
Higher.
It's lower.
Oh.
With
What's the
77.
final score, Matt?
Yeah. What's the final score?
I mean, I wasn't
You've
writing
not
down
been-
the scores.
Fucking hell.
What was the point
I
of that?
wasn't writing down the scores.
hell.
I don't have a pen.
He's the
There is a
worst
pen.
game show host of all
Look,
time.
basically,
So that's what-
listeners can work it out and then tweet me and I'll announce the results later.
I'll tell you what the scores were because I wrote them down.
Oh,
in
good.
last place was me with 5. Second place was John with 6, and in first place was James with 7. So it's
Well done,
quite,
James.
quite close, I think. It was,
That was a
good
great game. Thank you, Ricky
Good game,
Cartwright.
almost absolutely destroyed. If Matt had his way, I'd be saying then in first place is us three with 7 points, and that is it. That is the end of the game.
Okay, if anyone else wants to do another game, basically make it easy for me to understand, make it so I don't need a pen, and also make it so those three against each other because they don't
can help
they don't
you
like
in
it when
those
they're
ways.
one team. Okay, and all listeners, they don't like it when they're one team. So
They
just
can help you in those ways, Matt, but they can't help you by you shouting out the answer before anyone's answered the question.
no, but
like, you can't.
if you're creating a game for this, just like give me some instructions about when I should say next round, how long, explicit
like,
rules. in
Changing
email,
the
thank you.
rules as you're doing it, Matt. Why did you do that again?
Fuck it, you're not on a team anymore, right? You're all individuals.
I mean,
Go on.
again, if you
Okay.
email us, thecomputergameshow@gmail.com, give me a great game, easy rules, explicit rules, and I'll read it out on next week's show.
James Farley, you've
Yeah.
not
Right,
you've
but
not been
guys,
on for a
before
couple of
we did
weeks.
before we do the news, sorry, did anybody else get a message from Adam Capone regarding games?
No, why?
Right, okay. He DM'd me, which is weird because obviously I've never spoken to Adam, but
Yeah.
he DM'd me, so I'm going to read it out if that's all right with everybody.
Well, you can. He unfollowed me on Twitter this week, so I'm interested to see what he's got to say for himself.
All right. Okay, I couldn't work out if this is a joke or not, but maybe it's serious. All right, well, I'll read it out. Message for TCGS. My new game is called You Lose. I remember over 10 years ago when I directly showed enthusiasm with the Main Ones podcast, most known as Joypod. I was there with him since the beginning. This gaming podcast felt incredibly refreshing because he acknowledged the listeners, invited them in. Joypod was not only successful because of the naturalistic emotions of the presenters, but because of the input from the fans such as myself. I even came up with the name Joypod. I even went to the Main One studio at Play Radio to record a show. I appeared on multiple podcasts. I even reported for him live at E3 once. I created endless features. I have done countless edits of the show that always proved to be a hit. When last week the Main One couldn't understand my game, I couldn't understand why he just didn't ask before the show. Instead, he just read my email out rather than even attempt to make it into an actual game. It's like he just wanted to get on with the show, even though I clearly stated that the game would only take 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Not a long not a long time for all the accumulative hundreds of hours I've put into Joypod and TCGS. So, after Matt Murray and the Main One have made me look bad on an international stage, I want to announce to the world that you both lose, along with TCGS as a show. I've effectively terminated our connection on Twitter and Discord and will no longer have any involvement with TCGS. This is probably my last message ever. Lastly, the one and only way you can ever redeem this is to get together one day, be it next week, next month, next year, or in many years, and read the email where I explain my game titled Back to the Future of Gaming. Together, get an understanding of what the game is, then play it on a podcast, followed by each presenter saying, "That was a fun game." Then together, clap for a total of 30 seconds. Goodbye from your longest running and most hard-working fan, Capone Adam.
Can everyone tweet Capone Adam and just call him an idiot, please? I love you, Capone. That's why I love you, for DMs like that. And the fact that you've wrapped in John, who must have received that DM and thought, what the hell is going on here? Why is he DMing me? And what is all this nonsense? Why don't you just call him Dave for a start? Okay, cool. Right, okay. That's it. Should we do news?
Yeah. Okay, so I've actually got some news together this week, because John didn't last time, so I thought I'd try
all right.
really hard this time.
Before we continue,
Eurogamer, Polygon, bloody hell, mate. You're grafting.
You don't have to defend him. You know, he can defend himself. It's like,
All right, go on.
Okay, so the first one I got is so Bloodborne and Ratchet and Clank are on for PS Plus this month, but PS3 and Vita are going to get the chop in a year's time.
Yeah, this was a weird one. Was it? Well, it's not a weird one. I think it's a really overly when I first read it, I thought, oh god, right. So they're cutting PS because obviously the quality of the games they're putting on PS Plus is a lot higher than it's been the past couple of years now, right? For the PS4 at least. And when I saw the headline and PS3 games and PS Vita are getting removed, I was like, right, that's why the quality's gone up. They're going to pile it into 2 games a month now, and it's just going to be PS4. Kind of makes sense, but, whatever. And then I read they're not doing it for another year. Like, they're not cutting out PS3 and PS Vita for another year.
That makes sense, though.
I know, yeah, but fair play to Sony. What a way to do it. To turn around and go, right, you've got a year of this left just to prepare you for it. Yeah. So it's a good PR move, really, to just announce it this early that they're going to be taken out. I
mean, it's probably for people, like, if somebody's just bought a sub or whatever. I mean, who's going to do that? But somebody probably has, like, for PlayStation 3 or Vita or whatever. So, they can't really complain and say they haven't had, like, a full year of it or whatever. But the odd thing about it though is that they are going to get rid of these. So does that mean they're going to add extra stuff to PS4, like after the year or not?
Well, they've added the PSVR stuff, haven't they? So it's not it's not like they've not added it. And to be honest with you, I'd rather it's hard to say the quality of the games, but like sort of bigger titles is probably the right way of putting it. I'd rather have 2 bigger titles than have it spread out across 3 different platforms. So, I mean, not everyone would agree with me, but those 2 games this month are really good. And if you've not played Ratchet or Clank, then I would definitely play it. It's really good, and it looks stunning. Like, if you've got a PS4 Pro, then especially that first world, will blow you away.
Did you say Ratchet or Clank?
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
It looks great. Yeah, it looks great. I want to play it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, have you not played it, Matt?
No, I've seen it, but I've not played it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and then of course Bloodborne's incredible anyway. So get on that. I assume you're going to be playing that, James.
Definitely, yeah. I definitely want to get into that because I never played it, and I wasn't expecting it to come out on this, but there's this, and also Mighty Number 9, which everyone can now play, which is dreadful.
You played that? Didn't you review that?
I did review it. It's a really bad game, which was a shame.
Okay, fine. Well, you can't have it all, can you?
Yeah. So we got that. So that's going to happen next year, but until then, I guess we won't really find out if they're going to up the count or not, or if it's going to be the same. So the next thing I've got is Switch is a year old, and they celebrated this by wiping out all everyone's play counts.
Have you checked this? Because I was only looking at that on Sunday.
Yeah. Apparently, it's okay because apparently it was a bug, and it's gonna be fixed. But it's a bit odd that this happened. But also, I don't really understand why people really got angry or upset about this. Because I don't.
I can totally see it.
Because it's nice to have, and other consoles don't do it, and I don't know why I don't actually.
Also, Matt, I want to see how many hours you haven't played of games you've bought.
All of Matt ones are like, played it for a little while. It says that like on certain games. No, I mean, I was looking at the weekend, like how much I put into Mario Odyssey, and it doesn't show on Harry's profile because
you have to link it. You have to link it.
You have to link it, yeah, and I haven't linked into the thing. But on my profile, it says I've played 120 hours of that game, and to feel like if that just went, that would be quite. I don't know. I suppose it's meaningless. I see what you're saying, James, but it's still nice to have. Do you ever check that, John? That stuff?
I haven't for a while. I was doing it with Zelda just to see how much I check. But the way it updates is weird. It's only every 5 hours, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it's not really an exact count. So it was a little bit confusing. But
you have to wait for a week to see how long you've been playing because
it's 10 days, isn't it?
Oh, is it 10 days? Yeah,
it's I always find that quite fine. After 10 days, like, okay, how many have I played? And
that's weird.
Yeah, it is a bit weird, but
it's classic Nintendo. But I like it because I've avoided it on all my other consoles, but no one ever seems to really have those like
Xbox has
statistics. Does it?
Xbox does have it.
If you go, if you go,
it's a bit of a long-winded way to get there, but it does say. John, have you linked Elliot's account to the network?
Yeah, that's how he played Splatoon and everything like that.
So have you checked to see how many hours he's played of certain games?
No, I should actually. If I had the Switch in front of me now, it's in the other room, I'd look right now. But
that would be crazy. It's do you reckon it'd be insane?
I had a look to see how long Ash has played Mario Odyssey, and I dare not tell Chen because she'll be absolutely furious. It's it's more than me. I mean, his count is higher than mine. I mean, mine was about 60 odd hours. His is around 110, which is a lot.
I mean, to be fair, that's not really far off what Harry's played, and I haven't checked his profile yet. So between us, I reckon we've clocked up nearly 200 hours on it.
It's a lot.
That's
God knows what Elliot's is. God knows.
4,800. Imagine him losing that number. That'd be upsetting. Okay.
So yeah, so it's a year old. I mean, what do you think about this? I mean, Dave, how do you feel about the first year that they've had?
Oh, it's been incredible, isn't it? Yeah. It's been incredible. Like they've really come out swinging. Like, they've absolutely smashed it. In fact, I've been playing Mario plus Rabbids, and there's something about it that makes it feel like it's got that feeling about it that of a launch game, like a launch day game that like Ubisoft would put out, because they usually put out a Rabbids game for launch consoles. They did with the 3DS and they have done in the past. It feels like a launch day game that maybe Nintendo stepped in and went, no, hang back a little bit to spread those games out a bit, because it came out 2 months after the Switch came out, or was it a little bit more? Shit, no, it was after E3, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it's a bit further longer, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't then. Maybe I'm just getting my times mixed up in my head. Either way, it's not important. I can't believe that it's felt this good, like to own for this year, because when they initially announced it, we were all excited. Then they did the massive reveal thing, and it sort of, but like my excitement sort of bombed, and I really wasn't, interested in it. Since I got it, I mean, I even turned around to you this weekend, Matt, and I was playing Rocket League on the Switch, and I just went, this console is just nice to use. Like, it's just to sit here and play Rocket League. It feels nice to hold, and it's nice to look at, and it's just one of those devices that you look at and you go, that's actually really nice to just hold in my hands and play games with. So yeah, I mean, and then you look at the sales figures and you go, well, they've smashed it, haven't they, so far? This year looks a little bit less intense for games, but who knows what they've got up their sleeves. I'm sure they've got plenty of games that they can just whack on the table and go, there you go, crack on.
Yeah, I mean, aside from like the online nonsense, they just pretty much smashed it, didn't they, this year? I can't really see how they could have done any better.
I mean, that does concern me because it's my Rocket League machine when I'm not at home. And, you know, so I've got no choice but to pay for it. But I suppose it won't affect how it plays. It's just going to cost me £20 a year or whatever it is. How about you, John? What's your analysis of the Switch for the first year?
Pretty much the same as everybody else's. You know, what a fantastic year. I mean, one of the best games of all time, a truly superb Mario game on top of that, an amazing new franchise in ARMS, a brilliant Splatoon sequel, plenty of surprises, a ton of indie magic, big games like Doom, Rocket League, Skyrim making it across, and personally, like, has been the saviour for me on numerous journeys. Like, I hate flying. I'm not scared of the plane crashing. I'm just really claustrophobic, and I hate being trapped in a thing. So having that as like the ultimate distraction is really, really good. Same on trains as well, and even journeys that I'm not stressing out. They just have evaporated. Especially when I was playing Breath of the Wild. I mean, that was amazing. Being on a packed train back from London, all sweaty, hot, horrible, unpleasant, and then just disappearing into this world, and just, you know, being basically transported away from the environment I was in. So an amazing machine, truly amazing. But it's going to be interesting to see what year 2 holds, because right now it doesn't have those absolute landmark games on the horizon. But that doesn't mean that's not necessarily an awful thing. You can't expect that every year. So it's almost unreasonable to expect that at all, really. You know, more than every 2 or 3 years, if that. So it's going to be an interesting 2018 and early 2019 for sure.
God, we say it every year, but I mean, when it comes to E3 this year, I'm so excited to see what they're going to pull out of the bag. Like, what they're suddenly just... Because I've got a feeling that they've seen the success of the Switch and just gone, right, fucking let's develop a lot of shit for it. I mean, you can never tell with Nintendo, but like that's the feeling I get. And we're forgetting Labo as well, although I won't be rushing out to buy Labo because, you know, it's not for me, and Harry's a little bit too young. But I can only see that being a huge success, and the more details that come out about it, the better it sounds. Like that whole you can, with the fishing game, that you can draw a fish and scan it into the game and then catch it in the fishing game. All that stuff we didn't know about, and it's like, holy crap! You can design your own Labo games. Like, you could design them flat out, like, to do... It just sounds incredible.
I can't wait for that. I've got that.
Yeah, I can't see that being anything other than a massive success, to be honest with you. It's going to be good. Going to be good.
Okay, so, next bit of news. Battlefield this year is going to World War II in a move that probably surprises nobody. But apparently it's going to be called... It's either Battlefield 5 or Battlefield V, you know, because it's V for victory, you know, that kind of thing. Call of Duty World War II was okay, but I don't know, I don't really feel enthused by this. What do you think, Dave?
No, it's Battlefield. I mean, Battlefield's incredible, so it's going to be good. And, you know, I think World War II lends itself to the Battlefield formula more than World War I did. But I don't know, it's Battlefield, man. They know what they're doing. It's going to be a good game. See, because I'm more interested, I think it's more interesting to think about where Call of Duty is going to go next.
Mm-hmm.
So Call of Duty will the next step for Call of Duty?
World War II, surely.
Isn't it? Aren't they going back to Black Ops?
They've done World War II
year,
last year, though. Do you reckon they can do that?
Isn't this year Black Ops again? Are they going back to that?
I don't know. They haven't announced anything yet, have they? It's gonna be. And didn't the last Black Ops like flop?
No, it was a monster.
You know, flop on Call of Duty, that's bollocks.
No,
but like flop in terms of
selling
standards.
The one that sold badly was, well, badly by comparison, was Infinite Warfare.
Advanced Warfare.
The space one.
Yeah. Oh, the Infinite Warfare.
Yeah, no, Black Ops 3 was an absolute monster hit.
No, right, okay. I'm an idiot. Right, okay, fine.
Last piece of news is Nintendo started to allow user reviews on the eShop and then quickly backtracked on it. So what it was they had added the ability to the website version of the eShop so you could leave reviews, but then 5 days later they got rid of it. And Nintendo said that customer reviews have been taken offline as we evaluate this feature and its functionality. So yeah, people are kind of speculating like why do this and then remove it straight away maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't want to moderate all the comments. I'm not so sure. Because the review form that they had was really, really detailed. Like, you could add, like, tags to the reviews and, like, star ratings and comments and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that would have taken quite a lot of effort to sort of, go through all those reviews and weed out all the sweary ones.
Why do it in the first... Why do these stores do these user review things? I've never understood it.
Well, I mean, it's the idea of, like, moderation, isn't it? So that you can... the better games should then get promoted more than ones that are not so good, but it gets gamed all the time, and then user reviews kind of become kind of useless, But
it's not so much moderation. It's about social proof, If also if you see, if you read a review that and that person comments about things that you might like, then you're much more willing to buy it. So I can see why websites have them, but looking at this form that's on Polygon, it's far too detailed. The moderation would be insane for this sort of thing.
But it's just... all I ever see of user reviews is just like either 5 stars or 1 star.
Yeah.
It just all feels meaningless to me. I never look at a user review and go, "Oh God, but no, maybe I shouldn't."
They probably figured out they need to do something though, because I mean the eShop is really starting to get quite. There's a lot of titles on there now, and there's also a lot of like garbage, and there is also a lot of good stuff. So they're obviously going to try and figure something out so they can promote it properly.
I would rather Nintendo, instead of modifying user reviews, just like highlight games that are clearly getting good buzz and that are earning. Is that dodgy? I don't know. I suppose people don't want to be told by the seller what to buy. They'd rather hear from other people, but I don't know.
But every other store does that, and it's paid for by the publishers.
True. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Okay, they put it up and they took it down. That's a great news story. Right.
Thought you'd enjoy that. So that's it. I've got nothing else.
Good. Well, seeing as you've been away for a couple of weeks, do you want to tell us what you've been playing? How are you getting on with Shadow of Colossus? Have you finished that now?
I finished it, yeah. And that's
good.
the first...
What was your total completion time? Like 6 hours?
I think it was about 6 hours. Yeah, something like that.
Really? Jesus Christ.
It was okay. You see, that was one of the things, though, because people were talking about like the disparity in like completion times between like the new one and like the old one. And there does seem to be about 2 or 3 hours between them, like in difference. I'm just wondering if that's because, like, visually, maybe the original on PS2 was, like, a bit ropey, so maybe it was just more difficult to navigate the world, and it just took longer. I wonder where
you got that idea from. I mean, that was pretty much word for word what John said last week, wasn't it?
I don't remember, I wasn't listening. But anyway.
But you took notes.
Yeah, so did you listen or not?
I took notes of when you slagged me off, John, but not when you were obviously saying very good things.
Selective notes. Right. Yeah. Redundant.
Go on.
So, I mean, yeah, I did finish it, and I do find this a difficult game to talk about because of all the history there is behind it and the fact that for everybody, it's like their most amazing game they've ever played and everything. Because although I really did like it a lot, there were a lot of things that really put me off from this game, particularly the last boss battle at the end, like, really killed the game for me to a degree. I absolutely hated it, and it made me feel so angry, like at different points.
In what way? I mean, it was definitely the weakest Colossus, like in my opinion. The platform, it was a bit like picky. I didn't really love it as much as the rest of the game.
I remember
but it didn't
driving
put me off
me
enough to...
fucking insane when I played that
really?
on PS2. Yeah, insane. Like smash up the house. It was when I was in a 2-week period between what company I was working for, going into administration and finding out whether I was going to get the same job at the other company. So it was quite a stressful time when I was playing this game. And oh my God. Yeah. The rest of the game I love. I hate that final boss. I'm with you there, James. Even though you hate me now with all your notes.
Yeah. But, it was just really annoying because it was like earlier on in the game, I never had any problems with the controls at all. Like, I think they remapped them or whatever for this release, and there was no problem at all. But for some reason, they just seemed to break for like for the final Colossus, and I just ended up really, really hating it. Like as I said, it made me fly into a rage like several times. It was, I was like, recording videos of me doing it and getting angry, and just it really annoyed me. But I don't know. I mean. It is. I did really enjoy playing it overall. The world is like fantastic. It looks amazing. But then the other thing is that I didn't really feel like, people like talk about how it has this like amazing like atmosphere, which it does, but then I never really felt like any incentive to explore the world apart from the fact that I was just going from one Colossus to the next, to sort of take them down.
Yeah,
and I know that part of the exploration, that part of the point is that the exploration is trying to explore how to defeat the Colossus. I understand that, but it's just the world is so beautiful. I want to see more of that. I wanted to be able to sort of climb some of the mountains and stuff, and I'm sure that it's because of like the fact that this was originally for PS2. It couldn't do that maybe at that time, but it just feels like a wasted world to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, on PS2, it was the world was kind of sparse and eerie, and the atmosphere was great. But yeah, it didn't look like an area you'd really be interested in exploring, just because it was just kind of barren and lifeless, and not just stylistically. Like, it looked like there was fuck all there. It looked like you're supposed to get to the Colossus because they were so much more detailed and so much more impressive, and the world just felt like a means to an end in that respect.
Yeah, and it was like that plays into the story as well, isn't it? Because it's supposed to be a dying land that is just, there's nothing in it but these colossi, which I kind of get. I understand the criticism, and I'll never go against that. It never really bothered me because I was so focused on getting to the next Colossus that it wasn't really an issue. I didn't really feel that I needed to go exploring, but I did initially when I first started playing that game. I was just getting lost, just going, well, so what is here then? It's just nothing. But then once I got over that first half an hour of not knowing where to go or what to do, I was like, okay, fine. There's nothing out there. Now I'll just keep going to my next bit. But no, fair.
But I mean, the Colossus battles were obviously amazing. Apart from the last one, I really, really liked the flying one. I absolutely loved it.
Oh God, it is so good. I love that one. Yeah,
but overall, really good. A really good game. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's because of the roots of the fact that it's based on something from quite a while ago. So many aspects felt kind of limited, and I think maybe if I'd have played it originally when it first came out, I'd have different feelings about it. But it'd be a bit like now if you went back and played, I don't want to say it, but if you went back and played Shenmue or something like that, you'd be like, this is dated and it's got loads of problems. This kind of felt a little bit similar in that sense, in the sense that there were.
I don't know, because I did play it way after it came out. And yeah, it did feel dated in some ways. It didn't feel like felt like it could have learnt from current sort of games or more up-to-date games, but it never bothered me too much. I have got one question. What's the better game, this or The Last Guardian?
So I hate you asking me this, because you're going to crucify me. Because the thing is this is probably the better game. In terms of...
Probably.
It's not...
Bottled it.
It's not...
Totally.
I kind of enjoyed the other one more, in a sense. Because
so you're saying the other one's better?
Part of the reason for it is that I really like platforming. I really love climbing and stuff in games. And I don't really feel like I got to the chance to do this as much as I wanted to in Shadow of the Colossus. Whereas
that was a problem with Shadow of the Colossus. There wasn't enough climbing. That's a fair criticism there, James. It just wasn't enough climbing in Shadow of the Colossus, was there? I wish there was more bloody climbing in that game.
I like climbing. I just like doing it. It's just, just fun, isn't it?
James, you spend 90% of the time fucking climbing.
Yeah, but you're just climbing up you're climbing up these, monsters, aren't you? You're not climbing up massive.
Yeah, you're not climbing up a cliff.
And stuff.
I wish I was climbing up a cliff.
This is what makes the game amazing, James. What are you talking about? Is that your response? A faint
I prefer
noise.
Climbing up massive, those massive spires and stuff, and then jumping across from those huge hanging glass things. I found that much more exhilarating than I did a lot of the other stuff in this.
Wow. Okay. All right. I mean, you like what you like, but that, to me, is the most insane statement
it's fine. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this is a bad game. I'm just saying there are elements of the other game that I preferred. You see,
I just like climbing on those little glass things and supposed to a great big moving fucking animal that animates perfectly and it's just trying to shake me off. I find it much more exhilarating.
I certainly find it much more exciting than that last Colossus, which was just bullshit.
I totally get it. Whatever. You didn't like aspects of it. It's a shame, really, because I genuinely thought that you were going to adore it. So I'm a little bit gutted that you didn't fall in love with it the way I did.
I did really like it.
It happens, doesn't it?
Just not. I just didn't think it was the most amazing thing ever. It's
fair. What else you got for us?
Okay, so I also played Axiom Verge. Do you know anything about this at all?
I've heard the name mentioned a lot, but I don't know anything about it.
This is a Metroid type game, right?
Yeah, it's a Metroid style game, which it came out quite a long time ago. It's been out on pretty much everything, but I got it on Switch. the reason I got it is because I'd started playing another game on PlayStation Plus on the Vita that was called Exile's End, which is also another sort of Metroid-style game, but it feels much more like an Amiga-like style game. And I got quite bored quite quickly. So I figured I'd give this a go because everyone's been sort of raving about it. So it's a really competent sort of like recreation of like the Metroid and Castlevania style. And the best thing about it, I really felt, is that because usually with this kind of game, they often sort of copy the same sort of like ability sets that you get in stuff like Metroid and Castlevania, like, you know, double jumps and all that kind of stuff, and like you get an ice gun to like freeze people and stuff. But in this, they really had a really nice sort of variety of different abilities that I'd not ever seen in this kind of game before. And for that reason, it was much more sort of enjoyable to sort of explore the environment, because it really did feel like something new, but still with like this sort of throwback to the like the older gameplay style. It felt very fresh. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I finished it. It took about seven hours, I think. And also, I mean, the other thing about it is I didn't feel like it was really sort of leading me by the hand all the time, because that's one of the other often common complaints about these sorts of games, like more recently, is that they kind of show you where to go all the time. But this, I got lost quite a few times, and but in a good way, because it was just fun to try and figure out how to use the stuff. So
you've been obsessed with these sort of games for a long time. When does that format? Like, how does that format keep fresh for you? Like, what does a game need to do to make it not just feel like another Metroidvania type game?
I mean, predictably, it's got to be... I mean, the aesthetic has to be interesting, and it kind of is in this one, because it sort of alternates all the time between this sort of 8-bit style and then sort of more of a sort of a 16-bit style, which is really interesting. But also, the visual style of this, it's kind of like H.R. Geiger kind of like machinery kind of like looking stuff, which just looks really interesting. Sorry, I'm really badly explaining this. But for me, the main thing has to be like different methods of gameplay, which is what this offers over other things. Like I said, it has different tool sets, which make it much more interesting to explore. That's why I love this kind of game, is because of the exploration. I just love being able to do that in a sort of an environment which is all about atmosphere. It's it's great.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. Anything else?
Okay, the last game I played is another game which... okay, this game's called Detention, and you probably haven't heard of it.
What? Is it a Japanese
no, it's not.
Novel thing?
No, it's not. And I'm going to have to... Okay, can I just explain all of this without you interrupting me and getting annoyed?
All right, go on.
Okay.
Touchy.
No, because I know there's going to be elements of this you're going to hate, and you're going to get annoyed.
Well, don't worry. I know what this game is, James. Don't worry about it. You've got an ally.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so this is a 2D adventure horror game that came out last year. I mean, it came out last year on Steam, but now it's available on the Switch for about a tenner. And the game is set in Taiwan following the Chinese Civil War. And this is primarily one of the main reasons I was interested in playing it, because very few games are set in this time period or explore like the White Terror that occurred in Taiwan after the nationalists fled the mainland following the Communist Party victory. This is why I know you're going to enjoy this, Dave. Basically, I do have to give a bit of background to this, because it really helps to sort of shape like the game. So, when the revolution was won by the Communist Party, the remaining nationalist government forces and their supporters left China for Taiwan, and they established the Republic of China, which is based in Taipei. So they then stated this is like the legitimate government of the whole of China, and this is part of the dispute that is still going on now between Taiwan and the mainland. So these nationalist forces that arrived in Taiwan, they pacified the local population, and they were totally paranoid about the fact that the communists on the mainland were going to invade, and so they instituted the White Terror, which was to purge the sort of the people in Taiwan of like maybe they're people that are working with the mainland. So this history serves as kind of a backdrop to the game, and it's really like completely linked with the story, because as you control these two characters who are trying to make sense of this sort of horrific situation that is taking place inside a high school. And what I really liked about this is it's the historical situation combined with like the Chinese myths of like the afterlife, ghosts, and particularly like judgment and suffering, that result in this really, really atmospheric but very simplistic adventure game. And I mean, the game basically revolves around sort of solving simple puzzles that you like sort of pick up objects with the environment. You find scattered notes that provide clues about how to progress a bit further. And although the puzzles are really simple, I didn't get stuck. And it took me about 3 hours to finish the game, but it's just I just found it to be a very, very interesting exploration of an alternative view of horror, fear, and sort of guilt that you get in this sort of game, as opposed to things which have been developed in Japan, because there is quite a big difference between sort of like traditional Chinese horror culture and Japanese culture as well. I really think it's worth a look. It was really interesting. Have you actually played it, John?
No, I've not played it, but that's made me even more interested in it. I think maybe it was Tamor tweeted about it. So yeah, I took a little look and I saw the price and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of interested in this. And I actually wrote my dissertation at university on Japanese horror cinema, so I've always been interested in that element. And it's interesting to hear you talk about the difference between Chinese and Japanese in that respect, because I kind of in my mind just banded it all together, which is really ignorant, but that's just the way brains work sometimes. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by this. You said it was about 3 hours long, which, considering it took you 6 hours to do Shadow of the Colossus, I'm going to say it's probably going to take me longer to do Detention, but so you're controlling these characters and you're picking stuff up. What exactly? You're just solving little puzzles.
What are you doing?
Yeah, you really. I mean, it is just sort of little puzzles. Like, you get sort of hints at where you're supposed to go next, and really part of the point is trying to figure out how to get there. Like, it's the typical thing of there's a locked door. Oh no, this locked door has a padlock which is using like these specific symbols. So you have to try and figure out what the symbols mean. To do this, you have to, go to another area where they've got there's sort of these etchings on a desk, and so you have to make a rubbing so you can look at the symbols and they match the things on the padlock, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's the kind of thing which is it sounds complicated, but it's really not. It's really obvious where you sort of need to go next.
So what makes it scary?
Well, this is the thing, because I played this with my wife, kind of half watching it, and she found it a lot more scary than I did, mostly because a lot of the sort of the tropes they use are, again, they're sort of traditional sort of Chinese ideas of horror, particularly of figures of the underworld, which to me, when I look at these, I don't really feel quite so sort of terrified by, because they're not rooted in Western culture, so they had more sort of significance for her than they did for me. But the other thing that was interesting about that is that there was a lot of stuff which is uniquely, well, not uniquely from Taiwan, but it's more because on the mainland after the revolution, there was a huge effort over a long period of time to sort of stamp out sort of what was called feudal ideology and feudal ideas, and all of these kind of things sort of fit into that sort of framework, this idea of ghosts and that sort of thing. So there was a lot of stuff that for my wife, she'll watch this and she'll understand what it is, but she's it's not really, they don't have a lot of literature that's based on that sort of stuff so much anymore, not as much as in Taiwan, where they've still developed this sort of thing. So yeah, it's I don't know, it's, for me, I mean, I found in the beginning I found it more scary, but then after you start to begin to figure out what's going on, for me it became much more interesting just seeing how the history that was going on was influencing the game. That's what I really got out of it. Okay. But that's probably just because I'm a bit weird like that. It's because it's so.
Can I ask, right? So when it's a game that's clearly based on a sensitive subject, a real sensitive piece of history,
yeah,
but it's adding mythology into it and stuff. How does it cope with the sort of, I guess, tone and sensitivities around that subject?
Well, this is what's interesting, because I mean, in Taiwan, they've got a different. I mean, I don't know, because I'm not an expert in Taiwanese history, because I've mostly studied the mainland. But the society there is generally believed to be, it's a great deal more sort of open than it is in the mainland. So, talking about, I mean, they've had a whole sort of truth and reconciliation kind of thing related to the White Terror, more recently, where the Taiwanese government has talked about the things that happened in the past and the White Terror and stuff like that, and then they've sort of to come to terms with the things that went on that were not good. So there is I think there's more freedom to be able to explore that kind of thing. This kind of game coming out of the mainland would be much more difficult, I'd imagine, to get greenlit, because it is, some of these issues are still sensitive. I mean, part of the horror that's part of this game is it's related to the idea of betrayal, and it does that very well.
No, fair enough. Okay, any more questions for James?
No, but I might play that.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's worth a look.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, Matt, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I've been out for most of the week, so didn't have much of a chance. Played Dark Souls, obviously. I started a game which I didn't add to list because I knew you guys would just take the piss out of me. So
what do you mean?
I started playing The Witcher 3.
No way.
I was going to say,
You
won't take the piss, but no.
Yeah, Matt. Come on, what is it, another massive game? What made you play this?
Well, I just had it. It's one of the games I bought when I bought my X, because it's a X enhanced game, and I wanted to see what it was about. And if there's one thing I need right now, it's like 100+ hour RPG. So I started that. It's only like an hour or so last night. My God, it's such a gorgeous looking game. It looks absolutely stunning. So I know nothing really about it other than the fact that it's well thought of. Everyone raves about it. I know there's going to be a Netflix show coming up soon, and I haven't really got involved in RPG for a long time because obviously I don't really play games and I haven't got time for them. But
you've never been. What about Monster Hunter?
What about Monster Hunter?
Well, that's not an RPG.
And Skyrim as well. You're all up for the Skyrim before as well.
Well,
yeah, but
I haven't played RPGs
ago.
for a long time, should I say? And I wouldn't really describe Monster Hunter as an RPG. It's more of like an action RPG.
Okay, it's not an RPG.
But yeah, I've only played like an hour, obviously, and I'm probably not going to play it again. But it's
why?
No, I mean that's a joke. I am clearly going to play it again. Yeah, it looks absolutely stunning, and I when I just play this for a bit, I just think I would like to just not play other games, just play this like 1 hour a week, and that would me forever because it's such an atmospheric game. Or don't get in some Game of Thrones vibes. I'm sure anyone listening to this who's probably played it thinking I'm totally wrong, but I already like the production values for the opening intro movie and the voiceovers all seem fantastic and really bring you into the story. And yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes, just because I know nothing about the game other than the fact that everyone loves it.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, the only complaint that I had about the game is that I really didn't like the combat in it.
What do you like about it?
It just didn't feel that tight, and I got into too many. Like, I think I got into too many moments where it felt like it was sort of level gated, which these games need to be to some extent. I understand that, but there were bits in the main quest that I was like, oh my God, I'm just dying, not through skill, but because my numbers weren't high enough. That's a bit of a shit thing to say about an RPG because most of them are like that, but and it's a very minor complaint really because it didn't stop me loving it. I mean, some of the
games saying
so
you're
good.
not powerful enough to be here, go somewhere else.
No, it doesn't do that. No, it doesn't do that.
If you're getting absolutely smashed by an enemy, isn't that the game saying, look, you need to come back when you're more powerful?
It does, but then there was moments where I was on a main quest that I couldn't really get out of, and I was fighting a boss that I clearly was underpowered for, but I did kill it in the end, but no, not through. It was more through like sort of taking it really slowly. It took me ages to take him down. It was, if you played it, it was the one in the cave. It was, I can't remember what it was, but it was one in a cave and it was dying about all over the place and just taking me out left, right and centre. I died to that about 20 times. And then there was a werewolf at one point that I had to take out that kept absolutely tearing me to pieces. But yeah, some of the quests in it are really incredible, and the places that it goes. What it does so well is it brings like these real life issues and complications in personalities and stuff, but sticks them in this sort of ridiculous setting with these ridiculous storylines, and so it always feels like there's what they call it? What they call it? The man of the people or something? No, that's not the phrase.
Every man.
Yeah, there's like every man in it that you just think, yeah, I can relate to that, even though they're talking about this really fucked up, weird shit. Yeah.
Is it one of those games where
as well.
If you see a mountain in distance, you can go to it, or is it much more linear?
I never did that. I never got to the point where I thought that I could just go travelling. I played games like that very strangely. I like to get focused on things and go places. It's very rare that I go wandering for extended periods of time, like I did with Zelda Breath of the Wild. This was, and not only that, because you could stumble into areas that you get absolutely caned on. Like it felt, it didn't feel like Dark Souls. It wasn't as rigid as that for me. I would still go exploring, but like, how Dark Souls, you're kind of like, because if you step in the wrong place, you're dead. You kind of go, okay, I'm going here next, and now I'm going here next. I suppose there's a touch more of that in The Witcher 3 for me, but it's still an incredible game. It is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see more of it.
John, did you ever touch this?
Yeah, I played a ton. I played about 20, 30 hours. I feel exactly the same way about the combat as you. For me, it's just the combat is very light and it doesn't really...
Yeah, that's the word.
I don't like the fact that, like, Geralt was a very grounded character, even though the world is fantastical as monsters and stuff like that. And obviously it's very adult and very mature and sort of well written, but he fucking floats about and spins about all the time when he's fighting. I don't know, you look like a dick. And why are you doing 360 spins to cut? Like some games you do 360 spins when you're fighting like Bayonetta, and it's like all part of that style and panache. But it never makes sense and it doesn't feel good. And I don't know. It kind of feels like it's stuck in between two camps in terms of like you have to do the stuff where you have to prepare your sword and, you know, put the oils on and shit like you used to in the older games. But then again, it's this kind of light combat. So it never feels as good as something like a Dark Souls, but it never goes all the way into being like a, you know, broader action game. And I had the same situation as you. Like you'd be going through a story quest and then suddenly the boss feels like incredibly over-leveled. And you're just chipping away at it for ages, and it's just tedious. And it's actually what put me off going back to the game, unfortunately, because the rest of it, like everybody else, I loved the script and the world and the atmosphere and, you know, all the things that people rave about.
Totally. Yeah, I would say definitely at least get to the Bloody Baron quest, Matt, because that is that's a definite highlight.
I'll try my hardest. I'm sick of starting games and not finishing them. And I play more Dark Souls. It's still fantastic. I had one go of Ornstein and Samoa and stopped it because it was late last night. But
it's a good game. It's a good game. All right, is that it?
That is it. Yeah.
That's funny because you've got another game written down here that we were going to chat about. I was going to hand it to you because you play fuck all else. We played Drop Mix this week.
We did.
What is this?
So. John, I assume you've heard of this.
The main reason I was devastated I couldn't make it down this weekend because of the weather is because I didn't get to play Drop Mix. It's not because of
Don't worry about it, is all I've got to say to that. Do not worry about it. So Drop Mix is not it's sort of like half video game, half... but you don't call it a board game. So it's the new Harmonix thing, and it's like a iPad game with a plastic peripheral thing, which is underselling it a little bit. It's like this long panel with card slots on it, sort of pads, aren't they, that you lay cards on. And the simple idea, to dumb it right down, you get cards, and in the cards they're chips, and you set it up with an iPad or an iPhone or whatever. You connect it to this sort of I don't know, what would you call it, Matt?
Peripheral?
Yeah, no, but it's sort of like to describe it.
It's like this oblong shaped black bit of plastic. It looks a little bit like a keyboard. And there's these bits where you put cards on basically, and
there's 5 sort of panels that you place
you
cards
can rest
on
an iPad on it, and essentially you watch and listen and play the game by viewing the iPad or the iPhone, and at the same time you're placing cards on the actual device.
Yeah, each card represents different songs, and the idea is that you can place these cards in different parts of the board, and it takes bits of that song and mixes it into like a sort of a mashup. So you can have like the drums from, you know, one song, you can have the lyrics from another, the guitar from another, you can have 2 lyric cards and it sort of mixes the lyrics together and stuff like that. And the technology is very interesting, and it works very well. I mean, when you're laid down a card and you're not even looking at what songs on the card, you just hear it instantly get dropped into this sort of continuous mix of different songs. At first impressions, I was like, wow, this really works. I'm laying down cards, the music's coming out of the speakers, everything's like it's all registering perfectly on the iPad screen. This is quite exciting. But when it comes to playing the game, it's weird, isn't it? Because we watch the how to play videos and they make it sound so complicated.
Yeah.
And they really go into way too much detail about what you're doing, and they sort of chuck all the rules at you at once. It's really hard to follow at first. And we thought, are we going to get the hang of how to play this? So we played the first game mode we played was a competitive one. And it was Matt would lay down a card and I'd have to lay down a card. And there are different rules to what cards you can lay down. So there are, it's sort of a volume thing at the top left-hand corner of the card, 1, 2, and 3. You can lay down a card that has 1, and that means that you can only lay 1. Well, you can lay any card on a volume 1 card, but once it goes higher, you can't lay down a card that's got a lower volume. It's always got to be higher. Then there are on each card there's a different instrument, and sometimes you have to lay down a specific instrument card, and sometimes you have to lay down a different color card, and all this sort of stuff. But we picked it up quite quickly. It's just that it felt like we were influencing the music, and that was fun for about 20 minutes. And then after that, it was kind of like, okay, but this is still a very basic colour match. There are different rules that you had to keep to, but it didn't feel like there was much
the music
tactical
sort of fell
play
into the
going
background, and it was fun, and it was cool to see how if I dropped a Skrillex card, they would add a bit of Skrillex into a Bruno Mars track or whatever's being mixed at the time. It was like interesting, and I think all of those sounded good, and they all worked really well. But actually, the music was, you could arguably play this on mute, probably, in all honesty, and still have like the basic game there. It was fun to have that music, but I felt like the music sort of fell into the background because most of the time you were just trying to make sure that you're placing the right color cards,
which card to play,
the right color card on the right
yeah.
section of the plastic peripheral, or making sure that you are dropping card with a equal or higher level than one other cards on the block. So yeah, it's weird really. I feel like the music sort of fell into the background, and you can like save mixes you like and replay them later and whatnot. And the more we played, we're getting much more higher scores. We're really understanding the mechanics of the game. But yeah,
that's it, because we moved over to the party game, which is a cooperative game between, like, we played it a 3-player game, and it was the idea with that. It wasn't, hey, let's try and make some cool music. It was, the game would go, okay, lay a red card, now lay a volume 2 card, now it was just telling us what to lay. So between the three of us, we were just laying down the cards, and then it went, okay, well done, that's the end of the game. Try and get a higher score next time. And it was, it gives you points on how quickly you lay the cards. So there's a bit of, shit, what card have you got? I'll lay this one, right? And it was kind of like, I mean, if I'd have, it was like me standing at the end of the table with a normal pack of playing cards and going, lay down a queen, well done, you laid one a queen, right, now a club. You know what I mean? It felt like that. Yeah. The game was so basic.
Can you just play with the thing, though? I don't really care about the game. I just want to play with the machine and the cards.
But it feels like if you were going in for it for just that, then 10 minutes would be enough. Like, you would look at the cards and go, okay, that did drop Katy Perry in there pretty well.
Yeah.
And then that's it. You know what I mean?
I used to play MTV Music Generator on the PlayStation 2, I think, and there was a mode where you could kind of mix your own tracks live in 2-player, and there was like fuck all beats, fuck all sequences, and I played it for hours and hours and hours. I just love stuff like that.
But with that game, you probably had a little bit more control over what was going on. Like, could you select where the beat came in? And I suppose you could technically do that with this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted. I just want to try it. You may well be correct. I just think that I've got a higher tolerance for this sort of stuff, and I just love stuff like this so much that I think I'd probably get a lot more enjoyment out of it. I've just seen some footage of a mate doing it, just not playing a game, just playing on his own, and I was like, "Fuck, I need to try that." But
then you get to the other problem with it. I looked on Amazon today; it's 110 quid, and looking at what you get out of the box. I mean, that is a lot of money to try it out.
But in the States, that's why I didn't buy it. But in the States, it's like $40 now, or something like that. That's how,
really?
Yeah, that's how Chet got it.
See, because I did say we were playing with Chet, and I did say to him at the time, if this was 40 quid, that's a good price point, and that's something that you might consider getting just to crack out a couple of times, like with family and stuff like that. The other thing is, I mean, what is nice is that you can buy card packs, but again, they're equally expensive. They're like 15 quid, I think, for a pack. Which seems a lot of money considering how many cards you get in them. You don't get that. I think it's like 12 cards. It feels like there's not much of a game there, and the music isn't a big enough draw to keep me playing more than, say, half an hour, which is a bit of a shame. I suppose if there was more people playing, it might be a little bit more fun, but I don't know about you, Matt, but I didn't fall in love with it.
No, it was cool technology, and it was fine, but it didn't make me want to come back for more. I mean, it being harmonics, I thought before having played the game, I thought would be trying to almost like feel like a star meter, a bit like, you know, Rock Band or something. So we're all like really working together to try and create this great big music together. But really, it felt like the music personally just felt like that was just in the background, and it was more just about, you know, you've got to react quickly to get the points, you know, to drop your cards to get a higher score. So I don't know, maybe if I played it more, I'd enjoy it more. And I know those people do rave about it, but I didn't fall in love with it. No way.
Okay, yeah, because we played it for about an hour, and then we went, okay, we're done. You know what I mean? Like, and it felt like a good party game should make you want to play more. Yeah. Which is a shame. But I don't know. Other people might like it. I wouldn't be rushing out to buy it, especially at that price point.
No.
That needs to drop. And if it does, then maybe I'll pick it up. I don't know, just to see what my friends and family think of it. Okay, cool. So I played that. I also played a bit of Trials of the Blood Dragon, which is a Xbox Live game with gold game. I had no idea this was a thing. I didn't know I didn't see it come out, and I paid no attention to reviews and stuff. I really like it. I really like it. I mean, it's a bit clumsy in places. It's, I'll explain what it is in a sec, but it's a bit clumsy in places, but the Blood Dragon title, when it first came out was it Far Cry 3?
Yeah.
It was of the understanding that, okay, we want to make DLC for an existing franchise, let's go crazy with it. Like, don't expect it to have anything to do with the game it's being linked to. We are going to be pissing about a lot. It feels a lot more experimental, and it certainly did with Far Cry. So they've applied this to Trials, which is, if you've not played Trials, was an excellent game on the 360. You had Trials HD, and then, what was it, Trials Evolution? Was the absolutely incredible one, John?
It was just Trials 2, and then there was there's 3, isn't there?
Yeah, well, there was Trials Evolution on the 360, and then there was Trials Fusion. I think it was called on the Xbox One. So basically, Trials HD was that bike game. It was a side-scrolling bike game where you're controlling the accelerating, the brake, and the sort of balance of the bike. So you fly up into the air, you see a ramp, and you've got to position your bike correctly to land on that ramp and continue going. It's addictive. It's really hard in places. Really good fun to play. Score attacks with friends and stuff. Trials Evolution come out, and that just was incredible. It brought in the sort of custom-made tracks, loads of these little mini games that made it a lot more fun. And yeah, just that's the best Trials has been, in my opinion, because Trials Fusion come out, and I played a bit of that, and I was like, I am not feeling this. They tried to make it more explosive, better looking, obviously, but it felt like it never got anywhere near where Trials Evolution was. This, because it had that Blood Dragon title, I went into it thinking this isn't trying to be the next Trials game. This is trying to take the concept of what a Trials game is and muck about with it and see what comes out at the end. So naturally, it's got some weird story based around the war, and you play one of two twins, like, and it sort of alternates between them. I don't know. The story's told by a soldier that is already dead. You know, it's that sort of weird wackiness to it, and it's just the story gets a bit not grating, but it doesn't get in the way of playing the game. It's just sort of there in the background, and you can dip in and out of it as it's going on. But it does give a lot more freedom to what you're actually doing. So you're not just on a motorcycle getting from A to B like you are in these games. There's sections where you get off the bike and you're running around and you're shooting.
Yeah, I remember seeing that when it was unveiled at E3.
Yeah, Dave, how are the on-foot bits? Because that's the bits that I remember people sort of saying were terrible.
It looks crazy.
Yeah, they're not terrible. I don't think they're terrible. They're not. The platforming isn't that great. It's not anywhere like it feels to jump. It's definitely got a Little Big Planet vibe to it. Like the character's really floaty, and when you're doing that sort of time attack platforming, you want it to be a lot more zippy. It doesn't feel like that at all. But they're few and far between, and it does incorporate the shooting aspect. Like, you can shoot while you're on the bike on certain bits as well, which is really cool, because there are moments where you're going down a straight and you're thinking, actually, I need to slow down here to make sure I get this shot to get to the next bit. Otherwise, I'll be shot and I have to start this whole section over again. And it also introduces different vehicles as well. So there's like this massive, great big 6-wheeler truck thing that you have to, all of a sudden, the whole idea of balancing that instead of a bike, the momentum's a lot slower and stuff. That's pretty fun. And it's got this really cool sort of remote control car one as well that flips over, and instead of balancing like where you're landing, you've got to sort of quickly flip between whether you're driving to the left or driving to the right and stuff. It's experimenting, and everything I've played has felt fun. And I've gone back to do missions again because I've enjoyed them so much. And of course, when you do that, it then brings all your friends' ghosts into the race, and all of a sudden you're focused on trying to beat their score. And it's, yeah, I mean, especially for a freebie, I don't know how much it was when it came out, so I can't really, tell you whether it was worth the money or whatever. But playing this game for free is just fantastic, because it's just a lot of fun to play, and the ideas that it's chucking in there don't always work. And I think you're right. If there was a low point in the game, it is probably the platforming bits. But it didn't really bother me because playing it for free.
It's a good job. James loves platforming.
Plays well. Yeah, I mean, James, did you ever get into Trials?
I did, yeah. I played quite a lot of it on.
I would probably give it a go then. I mean, it's definitely worth a crack. And John, you've not played.
No, I've not played it. Yeah, I'll definitely give it a go.
Yeah, and it's got that whole sort of 80s neon film sort of vibe to it, and it pulls it off, I think. I read a lot of reviews about it today, actually, just to see what the reaction was when it came out, and there was a lot of. It didn't get a great reaction. It got, I think it was a 6 Metacritic score, 60 or something like that. That people seem to be complaining about certain bits, not like in certain sections. But for me, with Blood Dragon, it's all about that. Like, when they apply that sort of name to it, it's all about them trying these weird things, and it will never be like hit after hit. There will be moments of it that you won't enjoy, but to have that experiment, the stuff that comes out of it that is good, is worth like them just chucking everything at it and seeing what works. I just wish they would have done more with the Blood Dragon stuff, because they've only done it to Far Cry and Trials, haven't they?
Yeah,
they got so much.
Well,
under their belt.
The DLC for Far Cry 5 sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? They're not using that exact name, Blood Dragon. But
what are they doing? I've not heard.
We talked about this, didn't we, the other week?
We talked about 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, like you go to Mars, there's something with zombies, and then something in Vietnam. I think there's 3 different.
Yeah, so all the DLCs are various like theme packs, really.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Didn't they do something similar with Wolfenstein 2 as well? They did. It was like completely different characters and
I think so. Yeah.
Different little stories, but I heard the reaction to them hasn't been great so far. So, oh well. All right, okay. And the last thing I played the Kirby All-Star Allies demo that come out for the Switch in the week.
No, all in
John,
that.
you've played this as well, haven't you?
Just Kirby Star Allies lid. But
oh right, sorry.
No,
All-Star.
Yeah, I played it as well.
Sorry.
I played it a little bit.
What did you guys think?
I like it, man. I think I played basically in co-op with Elliot. And I just thought it was I've never really played a Kirby game before. I kind of thought I had, but I actually haven't. A very just enjoyable, very simple, sort of 4-player co-op game. There's no real challenge to the 2 levels. One of them is labelled as hard, but I mean, it's not at all.
Yeah, it's really not, is it?
But, very charming, kind of funny. Obviously, you play as little Kirby, and you can pick up your little chums along the way, whether they're co-op partners or not, by chucking hearts. So certain enemies in the world have a little heart above them, and you can press Y or X or whatever it is on the Switch, the top one, and chuck a heart at them, and then they just become part of your team, and then you can kind of get their abilities, and obviously Kirby can hoover up different people and get their abilities, and they all combine in interesting ways. And I just thought it was cool. Like, I've had to play the demo through about 10 times now. He absolutely absolutely loves it. He thinks it's brilliant. He loves experimenting with all the different things, and he also finds it incredibly easy. But I think is like the first sort of first party game to come out of Nintendo this year. It's going to be absolutely fine. I think we're going to end up getting it. In fact, I think Elliot's going to spend some of the money that he got from very kind people donating when he, that whole situation we talked about the other week with his Mario video. He's going to use some of his money to get Kirby Star Allies. So, we'll probably end up playing through the whole thing, I'm sure. But, nice, charming, fun, like, simple kids game. I don't really...
Did you find it a bit too chaotic?
I played it enough that I could I know what you mean. With all the characters going on, there's a hell of a lot going on, but I played it enough that I can, discern what's going on now.
It gets a bit kind of Smash Brothers, doesn't it, in places?
Definitely.
Yeah, it totally feels Smash Brothers, yeah. Yeah, it feels like Smash Brothers, the platformer at times. Because there's so much going on, and that must be intentional. I thought it was fine. That's the sad thing about it, I guess. Not really, because I'm not a massive Kirby fan anyway, so I wasn't going into this expecting to be blown away. And it probably did more than I thought it would. Like it made me laugh a couple of times how you could combine things. So, you get abilities and you have to work as a team to sort of unlock special abilities, don't you? So say, for example, you've got a sword, you can hold it up and someone can blow fire on it and becomes a fire sword. Yeah. And that means you could chop down bombs that also set the fuse off at the same time, and then blow up and uncover secrets. There's one that turns you into what is it, curling stone?
Yeah,
is that the right way of saying that? And that was pretty funny the first time it happened. I just didn't know if there was enough there to make me want to buy it, because as you say, it was pretty simple to get through, and it didn't feel like... I really didn't like the loading screens but that often as well. Is that going to be the main game? It's got to be, right? There's got to be a representation thing. And that felt so not Nintendo. Like it was... I don't know. All I would say is that I'm far more interested in the Yoshi game they've got coming out than I was this.
Yeah, I think that will end up being a better game. I don't think I'd be buying Kirby myself, but...
is Kirby full price?
Yeah, it's 50 quid.
It is, yeah.
So,
I just ask that question.
I just pre-ordered it because it was it's a bit cheaper on Amazon, I think. But see, I've gone for it because I played it with Asher and he really, really liked it. And there aren't really that many games of that kind of type that you can play on Switch at the moment. Like, he always wants to play like Mario Odyssey together, but it's just not fun, is it?
No.
Like playing like two players in that at all. And at least with this, you have like a feeling of like both of you can have a feeling of control.
Yeah, the Wii U was a better machine for that type of thing.
Absolutely,
I think there's tons of games where you could play like that.
But, I see. That's the only problem I've got as well. Like, Harry has been banging on about Kirby ever since we played it together, and I'll probably end up having to get it at some point. But I wasn't totally sold on this game.
I've been
based on that demo.
fine buying almost anything on Switch that Elliot's like the look of, because I was probably going to get it anyway. So far, in terms of the games that look like they're for kids. But this is different. I'm like, 50 quid. This is like, there's a lot coming out in March.
Totally, isn't it?
That's a lot of money. But he's going to buy it. It's about time he fucking, put some money in. Jesus Christ. So, yeah.
Yeah, for real. All right. Okay. And that's my list. John, have you got anything else that you want to try?
I played that, and then I've also been playing Into the Breach. Now, I don't know if anybody knows what this is.
This is the FTL people, yeah?
Correct, yeah. So Subset Games, which I believe is two people who made the brilliant FTL. This is the follow-up to that. It's not a direct sequel to FTL, but there's certainly the DNA of that game in this. But basically, it's a grid-based tactics game similar to an Advance Wars in many ways. It's done on an isometric grid, but it has the FTL elements. If you haven't played FTL, that was the kind of like basically Star Trek simulator where you have like an Enterprise type thing, and you can see the different rooms at the top, and then you move from planet or system to system, and crazy stuff happens, and it's all turn-based, but it's all about managing chaos, and it creates those stories, like it creates amazing stories just with the systems that it has. Into the Breach is it has the same kind of roguelike or roguelite elements to it, so you're on a run essentially. You can either get through to the end fight or you die along the way. And then the conceit in this game is that like every new run is a new timeline, so you can carry one of your characters into the previous one. But to rewind a little bit and to explain what the actual game is, a turn-based tactic game where you control 3 mechs, a Titanfall type mech, with arms, a tank, and a kind of mortar lobbing thing. And they're the only 3 things that you have at any time. Later on, you can unlock different squads which have slightly different variants on that, but you only ever have 3 guys on the screen, basically. And you're fighting these kind of insects. They're nothing too original-looking stuff that you've seen in other things before. And it seems like it's fairly basic turn-based stuff. You move a few grids, you hit something, it loses energy, whatever. But really, you start to understand that it's actually quite different to any of the other types of games like that. And that is because you can always see what's going to happen. And what I mean by that is, like, when the enemies have their turn, what they're trying to do is they're trying to kill you, but they're also trying to blow up the city. And if there's like buildings around the map, and if enough buildings get destroyed, you lose a power bar at the top, it's game over, right? So, you will see, for example, on an enemy's turn, a little bug will move in front of a high-rise, a little city block square, and then that'll be highlighted red. So to say, next turn they're going to hit, and it's going to hit this block, and they'll probably blow it up, and you'll lose power. So what you can then do is almost all of the attacks can move your enemies around the board. So your mech can go and punch something, and that will slide an enemy 1 square. So say that enemy's in front of the tower block, you go up next to him, you punch him, he loses a bit of health, but he also slides out of the way. So when it comes to his go, now he will still fight in that direction that he'd already planned on doing, but he's 1 square over. So maybe you punch him, so he ends up attacking his enemy. Or maybe you punch him in a way that, like, he ends up punching a mine, or just a mountain, like... And the more you do it, and the more you realise it's all about moving the enemies around the board as well as it is killing them, the more it actually becomes more like a block puzzler. And it actually weirdly reminded me of Threes of all things, because you're constantly planning ahead.
All about that game then.
You're constantly planning ahead and like slotting things together, and it makes you feel like a fucking genius when you get it right. And there's a brilliantly written review of this game on PC Gamer by Alex Wiltshire, I believe was the ex-editor of Edge. And he just explains, he kind of keeps coming back to this anecdote about how it feels like all hope is lost in his turn. He's got this mech and this mech and this mech, and is being overrun with enemies. And basically, you're just sitting there, or he's sitting there on his turn, like figuring out, okay, well, I could move this mech here, and that will take this out, but shit, that's going to blow up this building. And he's just going through all these scenarios in his mind, and eventually he figures it out. And when you do figure it out, like the exact right place to move, because you have all the time in the world to do it because it's turn-based, it does make you feel like a genius. And I feel like, because of that, it also creates its own stories, because you have your 3 characters, your 3 mechs, I should say, but they're all piloted by characters, and those characters have little traits. So when you wipe and it's game over, you can only carry one of them through, so the other people are dead anyway. And also they can die in the run, and they're replaced by an AI, so you still get the little ship, or whatever, the little mech, I should say, but you don't get the character, and you can't level them up. So you get that certain attachment to the characters as well, which is like a real trait of the very best of these types of games, XCOM being probably the best example of that. So you have that going on as well. And there's this brilliant quote that I actually read in a Gama Sutra interview today from one of the designers of the game. And he says, the most important thing to making a compelling game for us personally is if the storytelling, the atmosphere, the lessons it's teaching are all directly tied to gameplay. If you're trying to convince me of something that's nothing to do with gameplay, it just doesn't have anywhere near the impact when I'm making decisions that are tied to it. And I think that's a brilliant design philosophy. And that's why I said it before in FTL in this game, and some of the games that I love the most, even PUBG, which is a game we talked about a lot recently, that the systems make the story. And I think that in subset games, that's obviously completely fundamental to the DNA of these games. And, stuff that will happen that are entirely personal stories to you because of what's happening on the battlefield. And there's nothing to do. There are just sparse lines of actual narrative in this game. The story exists and it's kind of okay, but that's not the stories that the game is telling you. And that's personally what I think game stories can really add that, other mediums can't do. And that's not to say that games can't be well written and tell more classic type stories or, cinematic type stories or anything like that. They can absolutely do that as well. But what games can do that other things can't do is stuff like this. And I think Into the Breach it's a brilliant tactics game. It's a sort of brilliant block puzzler. It's stylish. It's cool. The music's brilliant. And it also has that innate way of telling stories about it. that become entirely personal to you. I highly recommend going and reading the PC Gamer review because it does a far better job of explaining the game than I think I'm doing right now. But hopefully I'm at least conveying my passion. I think it's another really fantastic game, and I know that the more I play it, as I crank up the difficulty, I've been playing on easy, like FTL. It's recommended you go in easy, figure out the systems, figure out what's going on. And to be fair, Into the Breach is a much simpler game than FTL. It's much it's much easier to understand. It's much easier to get your head around. But it actually does have as much depth, if not more, than FTL. I think it's an amazing second game from clearly an extremely talented studio, which from what I can work out is 2 people. So highly, highly recommended. And I think it's a game that's only going to get better the more time I put into it.
Yeah, they're getting a name for themselves, those boys, aren't they?
Damn right.
It does sound really good. I wish it was on a Switch, but yeah, it does look great.
It will definitely be on Mac,
Is FTL
Linux.
on Switch?
No, it's only on iPad.
Yeah.
But this game will work really well on large phones. Obviously, it is inevitably going to come to iPad and stuff soon. But I think just because they're a bit stretched, only being 2 of them, it takes them a while. But hopefully it'll end up on Switch. But even if it doesn't, on a plus size phone, I think it would be banging on that. To be honest, it actually the touch face interface would be better than even a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I've got to say actually, thanks to Leon Cox who sent me a copy of FTL today. It was on my wish list on Steam, and he sent it to me for free.
Oh, that's very nice. That's a hell of a game.
Yeah, I haven't played it.
No,
there's another game I did play actually. I didn't mention on my list. I briefly played about 40 minutes of the final episode of Life is Strange. So after
no more Life is Strange, please.
I just wanted to do the next week in a row. So the series actually ended after 3 episodes, but they released today what they call the farewell episode. I don't know if it's a full episode or so or whatever, but I played the first 40 minutes today, and it tells the story of. So it's actually separate from the first 3 episodes, but it tells the story of Max and Chloe when they were children, really really young kids. So I'm really interested to see where that goes and what detail that goes into to potentially give us a bit more of a backstory to series 1.
I wasn't interested in that at all after the final episode of Before the Storm, but then I watched the trailer and I was like, and it was the music and the characters.
Yeah, I mean, already already it feels quite emotional, and the things I've done in the first 40 minutes are not emotional actions whatsoever. But I'm like, that music is swelling from early doors, so interested to see what it does.
Yeah. Oh God.
When's the next series of Life is Strange out?
It's not for a while, is
Thank
it?
fuck for that. I've got no problem with the game. I'm actually interested in playing it, but Jesus, hearing about it every week for the rest of your life.
It's one of those ones where, like, when James hears that I'm playing a game and he goes, "Oh, don't play it. You'll ruin it for me." I've got a feeling that'd be like that for me.
Yeah.
John playing it, going, what the fuck is it doing? I mean, it's about nothing. Yeah, I know, but that's why I like it. No, that's bollocks. Yeah, I know.
Well, we'll see.
That's the conversation that's going to happen.
We'll see. I like things that are about nothing. So, we shall see. We shall see, mate.
Okay. All right. Well, should we do tweets and emails before we get out of here?
If you want to email us, it's thecomputergameshow@gmail.com, and we're going to kick things off with Steve Cheney. Hi, folks. I'm a fairly new listener. GOTY 2017 was the first one I listened to, so sorry if you've covered this before. I get terrible motion sickness if I play first-person games, and some third-person. Space Marine on 360 springs to mind, so avoid the whole genre. Do any of you have similar issues with any games, or are there any genres you can't or won't play? Keep up the good work. You make my commute a lot more interesting. So,
do you know, this is something that I have never had an issue with. Like, a lot of people, I read a lot of people complaining about games for motion sickness. And to be fair, it's never aimed at the game itself. It's just like, it's just a shame I can't play this because it makes me feel ill or whatever. But yeah, like, isn't like the hand bobbing was an issue in a lot of games, and the running motions and stuff in certain games? Because John, you have a problem with motion sickness, don't you?
Not in games. No, I mean VR is horrible.
Yeah,
but not so much. The only game that I can really remember giving me genuine motion sickness was Alien Trilogy on PS1, which must have had like 12 frames per second frame rate. There's certain games, if you play them enough and they've got a shoddy frame rate, will give me like a migraine. But that's it's not really the same thing. But my wife, she literally can't look at anything for more than about 10 seconds. Any game with camera movement, anything.
Oh, yeah, we've mentioned this before, haven't we? Because James said the same thing about his wife.
Yeah, I mean, she gets it with first-person stuff, but not so much with third-person. Like, with third-person, she's kind of fine, because she says there's something you can focus on the screen, whereas when it's, like, first-person, it's like, it's going all over the place. And
does she get travel sickness?
No. Oh, no, she does. Yeah, she does, yeah.
So do you reckon that's probably linked then, isn't it?
It's probably
all the same shit.
I mean, I've never had it apart from with VR. Like, it's the only time I've really had it. I mean, more recently, I've begun to feel that I'm kind of not so interested in games that have been, like, converted to VR as opposed to ones which have been designed for VR from the outset. Like, with, like Skyrim really began to make me feel quite sick, like, in VR, whereas, you know, other stuff like Superhot, like, didn't at all, because that felt more like it was designed, or at least the VR bits are designed for it. I don't know. What do you think, John, about that?
I mean, I remember I was at a development studio about a year or so ago, and they were talking extensively about all the different things that they implement to try and prevent motion sickness, and all I could think of is how awful a job that must be to be the guy who has to test all that, like, for days and days, because it's really unpleasant. I mean, it's like being on a rough boat or something. It's like, when it kicks your ass, it's horrendous, and it's probably the main reason I've barely played PlayStation VR at all in about a year, because I just kind of loathe to feel like that. I remember that whole November when it came out, I basically just felt like that every single day, and I don't want to put myself through that.
It's weird, isn't it? Because, like, I really enjoy using it, but then there is something that stops me putting it on, actually, because I do just think I know that even though it would be fine, I will still feel at least slightly nauseous, you know, from, like, whatever I'm going to do. And it kind of, like, makes you just think, I'd rather just watch the TV. I don't want to feel sick tonight.
You get such an intolerance for that when you get to a certain age as well, don't you? It's kind of like, I mean, I'm the same, even with hangovers now. I'm so obsessed with not getting hangovers that I properly curb my drinking with, you know, I get to a point where I'm just like, right, I'm drinking water now, that's it. Whereas, like, you know, when I was younger, I just didn't give a shit. I didn't mind feeling sick the next day. So, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, if I had one and it was making me feel like that, I'd instantly go, I just don't want to feel like that. So it'd be staying in the box. How about you, Matt? Like, because you suffered really badly the first time you tried PSVR, didn't you?
Yeah, but then now I can play a game and I'm fine. And in terms of general games, I've never had that motion sickness thing at all, so I don't get that. But I mean, absolutely in VR, and I do. Although generally I'm a lot better. You can sort of instantly tell when you're playing a game that feels slightly different to ones you might have played before. But generally, I'm obviously a darn sight better than I was when I first started playing. I mean, that was like a lap and a half of Drive Club, and I was almost on the floor vomiting. But yeah, now I can play the game, and I'm much. But maybe I'm also much more. I'm much more understanding about what my brain and body can handle before I start feeling unwell. And also knowing the first rule, which is don't push yourself. If you start feeling sick and hot, just stop, because I was once, I had motion sickness for 25 hours after pushing myself through rigs for a bit too long.
Oh, God, that sounds awful.
But speaking of PSVR, like Bravo Team's out tomorrow, which is it's a new obviously like shooter game for PSVR, but it uses the aim controller. So I really want to play that. That's out tomorrow.
I want to play Moss, because that's supposed to be excellent. Yeah, I want to play that
as well. Yeah, that looks fantastic, and it's reviewed so well.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Sweet.
Next question.
Evening, fellas. First, from a couple of weeks ago, I don't think I've heard anything sum up the computer game show better than the response to my questions. I ask a really insightful question about what home console gaming might be like in 2056, and you all think for about 2 seconds, make shite jokes, and generally make a flaccid fart's worth of effort. It's like quite hard.
A terrible question, but go on.
Yeah, I was about to say, you think a bit highly of your question. I ask a quick follow-up about KFC versus McDonald's, and it's like you've all been given a concoction of ecstasy and 200 espressos, coming alive with passion and thorough discussion. The computer game show my arse, rebrand as the filler show, absolute pisser. Now someone who actually cares is back. Any insight into the far future of gaming? John?
God.
Your question wasn't very good. Question for today. For James, you indicated recently that you've only played Final Fantasy X to completion. Of all the other entries, what is it that keeps you wary of those games? And for all of you, except David, who fucking hates them, what's your favourite JRPG of all time? All time? Turned Scottish at the end there.
It was. Yeah,
Gutted I'm going to miss Res, chaps. Have a banger. Adam Stoke-on-Trent. Where are we? So, James, why are you wary of the other Final Fantasy games?
Mostly because of the grind, because I hate that. I hate that element of like having to sort of just continuously grind, to get to a level so that you can then fight enemies and continue or whatever. That's always been the thing that's put me off with those games.
And I'll quickly answer my favourite JRPG of all time. I've not played many. It's probably Final Fantasy VII. Maybe it would have been Lost Odyssey if those fucking kids hadn't turned up about 20 hours in. Oh my god, that was a shame. But yeah, I've played very few. Final Fantasy 7, 8 and 10 and that.
You not played Blue Dragon?
I have played a bit of Blue Dragon.
Amazing music. It's like... That's a fantastic... Actually, Blue Dragon wasn't bad. I mean, one of my favourites was... I really liked Skies of Arcadia on Dreamcast. That was really, really great. And obviously, at the moment, it's all about the Persona. But, yeah, just those.
I got it sitting there. It's going to get played soon.
Matt, what has the first hour, the best, what's the best first hour of a JRPG you've ever played?
I used to play the Shining games like Shining Wisdom and Shining Force. Are they even JRPGs? I mean, they're Japanese role-playing games, so I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean
I never
it was
played
a long time ago.
That's what a JRPG is, I guess, isn't it?
I guess so, yeah. So I played them, but yeah, I haven't played one in for 50 million years. Although Sega announced the other day that there's a new Shining game coming out. So part of me is quite interested in that.
Yeah, you definitely play that, Matt.
Zero gameplay footage, so that was a bit annoying.
Okay,
David, you literally never played one, no?
No, I mean, no. I think does Pokemon count?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I played the first one of that. Played the first one of that on the old Game Boy and enjoyed it, and then I can't even remember how far I got, to be honest with you.
We don't care.
Not important.
Right.
It's not important.
Hi, guys. I've got a question for John, because this one's about me, so I wanted to get onto it. I've got a question for John after hearing his impressive CV last week. Thanks. What advice would you give someone to make at least a little bit of money out of games journalism or features writing? I've been building up a bit of a portfolio writing news, reviews, and editorials for free. Painful. I love doing it, and so doing it for free isn't the end of the world, but turning it into a paid gig seems to be a very tricky business. Cheers, guys. That's from Sam. Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, it always hurts to hear people doing it for free, but I get it. It's a way to get in, and especially these days, it's, like you say, it's a good way you're basically doing it, building up a portfolio. You just got to hit up the people who are commissioning real freelance that pays from the major websites and the major magazines, and pitch them proper features with exact plans, who you're going to interview, stuff like that, not just like loose ideas. Don't expect anybody just to knock on your door and say review this, something like that. Don't just turn up saying, oh, I'll do reviews for you. There's plenty of people out there who've been doing it for years. It's just not going to happen. Or try and apply for a job and just keep applying for jobs. The other tactic is to, depending on where you live, try and get yourself into industry events and meet people and network, and then you're way more likely to get freelance. Basically,
how's the best way to get into industry events?
If you're working for a website, I know that you wrote the Celeste article. Any of those blogs that they can get into certain industry events. You hear about them. You're on mailing lists, etc. Hit up all the PRs that you can find on Games Press, get onto their mailing lists, when you hear about any sort of event, try and secure an invite, work out who the people are in the room, meet them, talk to them, become friends. I mean, it's the other way. It's the way, basically, as far as I'm concerned, like, there's probably 20 people who are the same level of writing. You're going to give it to the person out of those 20 people that you know. I mean, that's just life. I mean, one person might be ever so slightly better than someone else, but realistically, like, it's not like there's the best guy, then the second best guy, and the third best guy, and the fourth best guy. It's, most people are of a certain standard. There's people who, a bunch of people who are worse than that. A few people are at the very top. So if you can get yourself to that standard, and, then you just got to hustle, meet people. I was lucky. I just applied for a job and got it, so I can't really, I didn't take my own advice, but that was a long time ago.
And if I was to make a suggestion, it would be to use more question marks in your headlines. So if you've got an article about, how well the Switch is doing, say, just put the headline, "Is the Switch doing well?" And then people click on it, and then that's how it works these days, isn't it? Just more question marks, mate. Shit. More question marks. Clickbait that shit right up.
All right. Moving on. And I guess so. But, right. Good morning.
No one else is going to watch. James, how's best to get into games journalism, do you think?
James has left. Good morning.
Sorry, I was muted.
No worries.
Okay.
Right, good.
No, there's reasons. It's, you always have a go. Ugh.
Right.
What? I wasn't having a go. I said, okay, let's go.
Good morning. Another Yankee who listens. I started off listening from Player One, as others have said as well. Now you guys have become my favourite with the banter and arguing, blah, blah, blah. My question is, mates, do any of you guys get into conspiracy theories? Just a little editorial note from me. I love it when American people start sentences with mates, which is something that English people don't ever do. But, it's all good. I appreciate it. It's nice. Do any of you guys get into conspiracy theories? It'd be fun to hear some of your guys' thoughts. For example, with American news, it's not out of the question to believe the theory of crisis actors. The belief is that after a dramatic event occurs, the victims are too distraught to talk about it live on the air, but the news wants a good scoop. So we'll have a crisis actor pretending to be the father of the victim for that extra shot of the scene for viewers. That's a fun conspiracy. Any interesting conspiracy theories of yours? Cheers. I've not written the fucking name down. I'm so sorry. Tweet us and I'll say it next week. Conspiracy theories, man. I like there's the big ones, the Kennedys, the World Trade Centers, the Tower 7s and all that sort of stuff, which I've moon landings, read a little bit about, but no, like smaller ones, conspiracy theories, no, not so much. How about you guys?
I believe them all, yeah. Every single one I've heard, I flat out believe. There was no moon landing. Leave off. There was what about the prop on the moon?
Well, yeah, it's all about the reflections weren't even right. Oh, but that was from Max from New Jersey, by the way. So thanks, Max.
That was from Maxim.
It's from Max from New Jersey.
That's right.
Oh, right, okay.
New Jersey.
I just believe it, but I love them. I reckon that David Cage is actually Peter Molyneux, with a little bit of prosthetics on his face and a bad accent. I reckon. Anything, just send them to me and I'll just go, all right, yep, fine, I'll have that.
Yeah, the conspiracy subreddit is fantastic. I'm on there quite a lot just because it's fascinating.
Really?
Yeah, see, with people creating what they believe are dossiers with evidence about this conspiracy theories, and
those whole flat earthers, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, there's that whole thing.
I thought that started out as a joke, and then
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
The way I read it, when I read what these flat earthers are saying on Twitter and on Facebook and stuff, I think they know they're just taking the piss.
Yeah,
they're
that's what I thought.
Clearly just taking the piss, and people get really angry about it. Like there was this whole thing about there was a flat Earth group on Facebook, and they posted up. The flat earthers are rising. People all around the globe are agreeing that the earth is flat or something like that. And I just thought that's clearly a very funny joke. And then people are going, look, they've said all around the globe, idiots. If it's flat, how is it a globe? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was an intentional joke. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's a conspiracy theory, which means I believe it. So fine, that's what's happening. That's what's going on right now. James, I bet you're all about the conspiracy theories, right? I bet you love them. Being someone that studied history for God knows how many years, I bet you'll bang up for a conspiracy theory.
Not particularly. No, I'm not a huge fan.
I didn't
James, was 9/11 an inside job?
No.
Did the government kill JFK?
No.
Is Elvis still alive?
No.
Okay.
That's that
next week. I love all those things. I mean, the amount of JFK documentaries I watched where they're like, no, the bullet couldn't even come from that way. And I love that shit.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
The bullet could. I know it couldn't, could it? Dave, have you heard, Matt?
Yeah.
Oh,
fucking
God.
love that shit.
JFK was killed by Sam Giancana. I thought everyone knew that.
I don't know if that was a joke. Go on.
That was way too intelligent for us if it was.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you've far too highbrow for us, James.
Boys. It's tweets time. You ready?
Oh, here we go. Let's drop the beat.
Place.
There's no beat.
No,
go on.
Place. At Place Music. Has Snoop requested to be on the show yet? Dave?
Yes. Yeah,
he's on next week.
We said we're a bit busy this week. We got 4 of us back, so maybe next week.
He'll wait till one of us is off.
All right. Rich Spurs 24. When was the last time a game made you jump out of your seat in pure joy? Mine is my pin tweet. Okay, I'm not going to read that, Rich, but games make me jump out of my seat all the time. Like, almost every game that I play, I jump up and swear at the screen. Like, if I beat a monster in Monster Hunter, a competitive game, FIFA, Rocket League, forget about it. I'm barely sitting.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Rocket League, I'm barely on my seat. I'm just constantly like hovering in the air. There's that. Probably the best I've felt in a game for a long time was when I got my first chicken dins in PUBG.
Yeah,
like
there was a lot
when that
of,
come up on my screen.
Punching, when those came in.
Oh god, yeah, I was doing full weird dance around the house for about 5 minutes.
I felt really good with that one.
See, I don't get the joy. I've pure anger.
I don't get the joy.
That's the episode title.
I've had the pure anger, from like the Colossus stuff and all that kind of thing. But I don't really get really excited anymore.
Well, you must
I don't enjoy games anymore.
Yeah.
even with games like Mario Odyssey and like Zelda, there were definitely times I stood up like, that is amazing. You didn't know that?
Just like, it's great, it's really nice, but I don't know, I don't get all like wanting to get out.
Oh, come on, James! Climbing that skyscraper at the end of Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I really loved it. And the best bit with that,
chokes up.
The absolute best bit with that was that my son, I helped him get through to that bit, from that level. And when he saw that, and then I read, because it has like the dialogue bits and everything, and then I read to him what it was saying, and the look of just rapture on his face, it was the best. And I really wish I'd filmed that, because that gave me feelings of joy. That was really nice. But not for myself.
Oh God! Speaking of that level, right? At the weekend, I went to my sister-in-law's birthday party, just like around her house and whatever. And my nephew turned around to me and said, "Can you do the 500 moon challenge thing on my profile, please? Because I can't do it, and I want to see what happens at the end." And it was like a party and whatever, and I'm going, yeah, I'll do it in a bit. I kept putting him off, and I went, okay, I'll do it. And I've done it for a lot of our friends' kids as well, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the nerd, so they get the nerd to do it, and I usually do it or whatever. No, Matt, because I'm pretty convinced you've sold it.
Yeah, Matt, do you still own it?
Which game's this?
Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, of course I do, yeah.
You what? You sold it?
No, I own it.
Right, okay. No,
you don't sound very convinced of that, Matt.
No, he doesn't, does he? So I sat down to try and do it for him, and I've done it a million times, that level now, but I just could not do it. I could not do it, and he's 6, and he when I did it 4 times and got to the bit with a bird 4 times with plenty of health left, so I would have smashed through the last bit of it, no problem. And I just could not do that bit with the swinging panels or whatever. And I just said, look, I'm at this birthday party, I should be socialising with the adults. Instead, I'm in the front room with all the kids for about an hour. And I just went, oh, sorry, mate, I'll have to do it another time. And he burst into tears. And I'm going, I just feel awful, but I'm not doing that again because I nearly put the pad through the telly. Not only that, he didn't have a Pro Controller, so I'm going to blame it on that. I mean, for fuck's sake, get a Pro Controller, son. Then come back to me. But yeah, it was horrific. Properly letting it down a kid because I couldn't do a bit in Mario. Yeah, good game though. It's just such a shame that you don't feel the joy. Why do you play games anymore, James?
No, I'd still really, really enjoy it. It's just it doesn't make me want to jump up and start screaming and stuff. I don't know, just like
maybe it's the competitive stuff that makes. Because the ones we were talking about, the major ones, is like Rocket League and PUBG and stuff. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, the amount of times with Rocket League, last minute goals, or any goal in Rocket League, you want to stand up and punch the air. It's amazing.
What happens if Chelsea score a last minute goal?
Well, yeah, obviously you get a bit excited then. But it's
what happens if Man United score a last minute goal?
Next question.
It's 3-2, Matt. I'm surprised, but go on.
Are you?
Yeah, I thought they'd pull that out of the bag, but
Come on.
Right. Next tweet is from Piston Twister. Recently saw a video featuring John Denton. Was shocked to discover he didn't look like anything like how I imagined, i.e. Serge Pizzorno from Kasabian or a more spindly Noel Fielding. All right. Does the panel have any similar examples of this phenomenon? Yeah, I think everybody does, right? Like people you listen to on the radio and then, they don't look anything like Idle Thumbs guys, Garnet Lee, Dave Turner, pretty much everybody.
Well, you're the most recent one, John. So what would you that's met me out of this lot? What did you think? Did you think, same with Matt and James, Was it a surprise to see our faces the first time?
To be honest, I mean, I think that I knew what you looked like from Twitter. I think because it's different these days, because you you pretty much see people straight away. So I don't think I had it so much with you guys. And then James, there must have been a period where I didn't know what James looked like, but now I do. But the problem is James looks so much like the assistant manager from Man United that I just think he's the assistant manager from Man United now.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He used to be the assistant manager at Chelsea. Roy Farrier. That's you.
Really?
Yeah. But to me, I've never met you, so I've seen you in photos.
Imagine that, but fatter, and then you're there.
You've never met James face to face? All right.
Rest is going to be the first time we meet.
No, I suppose you haven't. That's really weird. I can totally see why you thought you looked like the people that you mentioned there. Like, I assumed the first time I assumed you had like a little goatee beard. I don't know why.
I need to change my whole life. This is terrible. What am I doing? No,
it's not that. It's not like it's not having a pop at you. You just sound like really relaxed and chilled out. Not someone
That's
motivated.
That's not what most people say when they listen to this show.
Well, yeah, it's not what you say. It's just your voice, I guess.
Right. All right. Ben Symes says, last week Dave admitted...
All right.
It
just sounded like you wanted to punch me, like you were just holding back a punch.
Well, you're not here, so what would be the point? All right, Ben Symes
That's a good point.
says, last week Dave admitted he was a tabletop gaming nerd as he'd played Blood Bowl and Man of War. Or not even I've played them. That wasn't me, that was Ben saying that. What was his favourite team and fleet?
Again, I said it last week. I didn't actually play the games. I just bought the figures, looked at them for a bit, and then they went in a drawer. That was it.
That. I used to play a bit of Warhammer, to be fair. I was a Skaven guy, the rats, but I was like 12.
I remember being a kid. The reason I got into it was mainly because my older brother started buying them and painting them. Again, he didn't really play the games, but he was buying and painting these little miniature figures or whatever. And I was, when you're of a certain age, you look at what your older brother's doing and going, yeah, I'm going to get into that too. But there was also this sort of, I'm probably getting it all wrong, but there was kind of like a Warhammer style game that wasn't a Games Workshop game at all, but it's all the hexagons on this big like plastic mat that you put down on the floor, and it was really simple but actually quite fun to play, and I played that quite a bit with a mate that lived down the road. So if anyone knows what that is, it was all hexagons on this plastic mat, and you had this army on a big hexagon plastic bit that you just moved into different positions, and you had to try and take down the other guys. I don't know, I can't remember. But if you know what that is or what I'm talking about, let me know. And I'll look it up on Google and go, oh yeah, it was that game, and then never think about it again.
All right, that's something to look forward to.
That was it.
All right, Oodles says, now that you're all bumping shoulders with the stars like Snoop Dogg and friends, describe your ultimate works Xmas party and who join you, possibly footballers or Peter Molyneux or even David Cage. Dave?
This is just like that. I'm guessing this is like that. If you had a meal with people, who would you choose?
Stephen Fry. It's always Stephen Fry, isn't it? That's what everyone says.
I don't know if I would, though. Stephen Fry seems really cool.
I wouldn't have him to the Xmas party.
No? Why's that?
He's older than that, isn't he? I'd
yeah, it's true.
I'd hang out with Snoop. Fuck it, I don't need to make one up. Like, I'm looking forward to this year's.
Do you reckon you could have a proper conversation with Snoop, though?
I don't know if he'd want to have a proper conversation with me, but...
That's it, isn't it? That's it. Because I reckon I could go up to him and go, "You all right, mate? How's it going?" And he'll just go, "Yeah, fine," and then walk off. And it's like, well, that was a wasted invite. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I don't know. Mine would be you lot.
You've already had your ultimate party when you hung out with all those Millwall players that time.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, Jesus Christ. When I got to hang out with the Millwall players after they'd just won promotion to the Championship, that was pretty good. That was a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, they didn't want to know me, but who cares? I got some banging photos.
Speaking of Christmas party, I like to go to a Christmas party like Snoop Dogg and have James sitting at the front passenger seat, and him and Snoop in one of those cars where it's bounce on the suspension. And it's loads of like women twerking, and like outside, I can imagine James in the front seat looking really awkward.
I would like a Christmas party on the top of like a tall building or whatever, invite Snoop Dogg, invite James Farley, and then just like pull the emergency button on a lift when they're both in there, and then like have a camera in there with like an iPad and watch what they talk about when they're stuck in a lift for 6 hours. Like, how would that... Oh, I'd love that. What the fuck would happen there?
I'm sure they'll just hotbox it.
Yeah, exactly. You all of a sudden the lift starts working, the doors open, and just like smoke just pours out.
Yeah.
James just
and they both swap clothes. And James is out like a massive chain, like full FUBU gear.
James,
I was going to go for Blake from Heavy Rain, but the actor of that in character, because I think that'd be pretty good.
You'd have to pay him the whole time.
Quid,
and you'd just be that one character.
Yeah.
God, interesting choice, John.
I told you, I just want to hang out with Snoop. Why the hell not?
It'd be interesting, but you've got to think of the reality of the situation.
Yeah, if I drink enough, it'll be fine.
No, it's true. In fact, actually, you don't have to think about the reality of the situation. That's the whole point in playing these fun games. I'm sorry.
Right, Darren Gargett, if Matt was to ever finish a game, what game would it be?
It's going to be Dark Souls, isn't it?
It's
going to happen.
Out of all the games that you've ditched way too early, is there one that sticks out where you go, I should have really stuck with that?
God, I can't remember all those games. That's hundreds.
Night in the Woods, is it?
I mean, that's one of them, yeah. Sure.
That would have got you out of a lot of embarrassment at Christmas, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the show wouldn't be as good, would
it? Good point.
I can't. I mean, FIFA. I can probably finish one match on FIFA.
FIFA.
I wanted to finish FIFA. What an answer! What a shit answer.
No, I was answering Darren's question.
Out of all the games, I know it's answering it, but it's a shit answer.
It is.
Out of all the games that you've played, which one would you have liked to have finished?
Skyrim.
Skyrim, good, that's better.
Right, Rikaku Police, Tom Doughty, what is everyone's favourite hymn?
Kumbaya.
I used to rate a bit of Hark the Herald Angels back in the day.
That is good. It's the bit where it kicks in. It's Hark the
Yeah.
When you're in church, right?
Yep,
like for a wedding or whatever, and they make you sing the hymns and stuff. Do you actually sing them?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I don't know any of the tunes really, except for I can't even remember. There's a couple that I know, but a lot of them, like when it's one that I don't, I'm just like, I'm not even going to attempt.
I
just do the mouth opening thing.
Yeah. I went to a Catholic wedding a few years ago, and there was loads of weird. I'd never heard any of those tunes ever. That was really fucking weird because nobody had as well. So we were just all supposed to sing, but nobody knew the song. That was just fucking crap.
Would you love it if you went for a whole Catholic wedding and the last hymn was said boom boom boom, let me so well. That'd be so good.
You know, for me, it's like if someone said, "Do you want to go to a gig?" and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go." Then I listen to all their music beforehand, so I know the tracks. If I'm going to a Catholic wedding, I'll just get I'll get a playlist on Spotify
playlist.
I'll hammer it. Someone there like, I fucking love this track. Come on, like, come on,
jumping up and down.
Yeah, like they haven't played it yet, mate, but they're going to end the gig on this. So I know it's a banger.
It's even better live, you know.
Yeah, I'm there with my lighter in the air.
Could you imagine if someone actually said that in a gig though? It's even better live. Such a James Farley thing to say. Right, okay, James, what are you like with hymns? Are you all over those?
Not particularly.
Have you ever been to like a Chinese wedding?
I've been to many, yeah. They're the worst thing ever.
Do they sing at them?
No. It's, no.
I've been to a Chinese wedding, and the whole thing is like 2 hours long, the entire thing. It was crazy.
That's
really?
That's not a Chinese wedding.
I went to a wedding in Hong Kong, and it started at 7:30, it was over by 10:30, which, okay, it's 3 hours.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah,
I've been to a Hindu wedding before, and that's interesting because it goes on forever, but they couldn't give a shit if you were there or not. Like the whole wedding bit, the whole ceremony, people just get up and walk about and do what they want, go to the buffet for a little bit, come back. Oh, they still going? Yeah, and we'll crack on. Everyone's just like chatting and stuff. It's weird. I mean, it's a lot better than sitting and having to watch it all. But when you just want to, get hammered in that. But yeah. That was an experience. They made us all go out into the road, and all the men side of the family from one side and the other side had to just walk down the road and then meet in the middle and shake hands and then walk into the venue. It was
like a beginning of a football match, like Champions League.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but with a friendly ending, as opposed to just like people beating music as well.
Because I'll be welling up.
Yeah, go on.
Right, Luke Summerhays finished Celeste recently. Absolute banger. How can James say it's not a Game of the Year contender?
I didn't say it wasn't a Game of the Year contender, although I did. But what I mean is, it was a very good game. But I just think that by the time we come around to picking those up, 12 months from now, or 11 months from now, or whatever, it's maybe, I'm not sure if we're still going to be remembering it. Maybe. I don't know.
I hope we do. It's a very good game, regardless of what else comes out.
Matt, how would you know you haven't played it?
Matt.
I have played it, I just haven't finished it. I can still say it's a good game. Up yours.
You can still vote for it for Game of the Year as well, apparently.
Did it come out this year? Yes, I can.
Luke also says, to be slightly less mean to Dr. Farley, I really enjoy it when he talks about China and gets really technical. Well, you enjoy this episode then. Are he and Matt ever actually planning to go back to Interface?
This is a sore point.
Why is it a sore point? What happened with Interface?
Do you want to tell him, James?
Well, no, because it's there's nothing weird about it. It's just
not at all.
You're making it sound weird.
No, I mean basically we both love doing it, but also we are too busy to do it as often as we'd like, and with as much dedication as we'd like. I mean, every time we recorded, we enjoyed it. I think we put out some good episodes. I love the China one and the Millennials one, and James and I have been talking about like tech and gadgets for years, and we just ring each other up after Apple conferences, and we thought let's just do a pod. But it's just, we've got this obviously on Mondays and, busy lives and work and all sorts of shit. And we weren't able to dedicate as much time as we'd like to it. So
this is way too long an answer.
It's also partly because, I mean, when this started, we weren't really confident this was going to continue anyway. So we had this.
Is the reason you're too busy? Is that the reason it stopped?
Yeah. Basically.
Okay.
That's all you needed.
Athene Ellen, when will Matt, this is quite dark, when will Matt breathe his last and will John deal the killing blow? Well, the answer to the first question is also the answer to the second question is whenever I decide.
Oh, your fate is in his hands, John, Matt.
Nah, I'll end it before you get a chance to, John.
Oh, we were hoping to do the chokeout this weekend, but John couldn't come down because of weather.
I think he pussied out. Next question.
Whenever this happens, please someone film it. Please.
Oh, God. It's going to be on stage at Res, mate. They'll put everyone.
It's not going to happen at Res.
Fuck it is.
Unless it's a fiver in.
Right, Alex79 UK. Evening all. Please describe your perfect bacon sandwich. Mine is crusty bread, streaky smoked bacon with sliced red onion, chili flakes, and brown sauce. Cheers. That sounds like a fucking war crime to me, Alex. But
I mean, I've got to be honest. I read that and just went, "Fuck off!" Like
I've blocked him.
streaky bacon that I've never got into anyway in the first place.
Yeah, but you like what you like.
Yeah, it's true. I'm not dissing you. I'm just saying on my personal taste. I remember they always have bacon sandwiches on site meetings when I go to site. And one time we went and it was bacon and onion. And I got a bit into it. And I was like, who the fuck has done this? Like, who has done this? It was, it was rank. No, I just like bacon on... Yeah, crusty bread's pretty good. It's a rarity. We don't get to do that often. But yeah, the big crusty bread that you buy and you have to cut yourself. I mean, it's a little bit long-ting, but it does taste better.
I mean, the ultimate bacon sandwich is the Zeno bacon halloumi and, the tomatoes and the olives and stuff.
He's only done that for me once, and I was so hungover I couldn't eat it. I was gutted. Absolutely gutted.
It's an all-time sandwich.
Any advice there, James? Any opinions on this one?
Not particularly. The ones that you did when I was over your house were pretty good. I liked them.
Yeah, not bad, are they? Yeah. Got slagged off for them on Twitter. It doesn't look cooked enough. Shut up.
It's fine.
Thanks.
I do like a bacon sandwich, but also I bloody love a BLT sandwich. And
I don't.
I fucking love one. So
I don't mind a BLT.
If I go to like a cafe in the morning, I would typically go for a BLT instead.
In the morning?
Well, there we go.
Interesting. Well, like you're hungover?
Huh?
If you're hungover, you mean went to a cafe? You get BLT.
If I was hungover in a cafe, I'd probably get full English. But if I was getting like a sandwich on the way to work or
a
little breakfast thing in the morning, BLT every day.
One iceberg lettuce, please, sir. Just sitting in the corner crunching down for me.
Right. Okay, last one. Sean Thomas. Now that John Denton has cemented his place on the show alongside the main one, David Turner's, does that mean JCA Farley and Matt Murray are competing for the final slot before Captain Toss returns?
Harsh.
Hardly.
I will say that it has always been said, and there's been no change to that when Sean comes back, John steps aside. But how do you feel about that now, John, that you've been on quite a few episodes?
Well, that was the deal, right? So,
what was the deal?
It's all good.
I mean, there is a case to be made that you've moved up the ladder and someone else is getting relegated, but...
Well, yeah, but it's a bit harsh for James. He's on the...
Not talk about James.
You're leaving.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it with me.
Yeah, so that's it. That's your tweets.
Decided.
That's your emails. Matt, do you want to do the social media nonsense?
Please, yes. If you haven't already, follow us on Twitter. We're at ComputerGamePod on Twitter. We've given out an email address already, but it's theComputerGameShow@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, of course. Find us on there. We're on Twitch. I'm streaming every Sunday night at 9. This might be the first week I actually do 2 Dark Souls streams because I'm so desperate to get back to it, to kill Honesty and Smo and continue for that amazing game. Just search us on Twitch. We've got Discord. Go to bit.ly/TGCS Discord to get the link for that. And we're on Dash Radio, but also we're on Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a review. Because we really appreciate that.
How bloody rude of me. I didn't allow John to do his full review of the questions that we got in. What did you think of them this week?
I thought questions were all right this week, Dave. I'm not going to lie. I don't think they're world class. I think few people are phoning it in a little bit. So, let's step the game up a little bit for next week, please.
All right, well, you've had your warning. Thanks to everyone that tipped us last week. That really does help, and it makes our lives a little bit easier to explain. Oh no, we got a little bit of money this week, so please let me podcast again on the Monday night, and then edit all night Tuesday. Yeah, thank you, goodbye. And thanks for living it.
I've got 2 more things to mention, actually.
Why didn't you do it when you had your bit?
Yeah, I forgot. One, we're doing a live show at Rezzed. I'm sure you've heard it, but if you haven't already got your tickets, go to egx.net/Rezzed. We're doing a live show on Sunday the 15th of April at 4:00 till about 6. That's 90 minutes of live TGCS action. Why not come along and see us, do it live? It'd be amazing to see anyone down there. And also, if you are an Amazon Prime customer, you can get 1 free sub a month. And why not think about subscribing to us on Twitch? It doesn't cost you a penny. It's really easy to do. That's it.
Thanks for living it. We'll catch you next week. Goodbye.
Linus.
Goodbye.